The Kunping Emperor also awakened, beckoning him over with a wave, signaling for him to approach. Chapter 271. The New Path to Immortality in the Void Space. Ji Xian soared towards the Kunping Emperor. Having just broken through, the vitality within him surged forth like a mighty dragon, extending into the depths of the universe. Friend, congratulations on your breakthrough. I am deeply grateful for your assistance during this crisis. Without you, the 9 heavens and 10 earths would have succumbed to ruin. The Kunping Emperor said, clasping his hands in respect. His internal Dao source had largely healed, and his complexion had regained its vigor, no longer appearing as haggard as before. Although the severed Dao had yet to be fully restored, he now remembered who Ji Xian was. Ji Xian replied, "It is your tribulation that has aided me. Had I been left to my own devices, it would have taken me millennia to achieve this." The 9 heavens and 10 earths were currently undergoing a great calamity. With a robust fate at play, even without my intervention, destruction would not ensue. This dual breakthrough owes much to the celestial power emanating from the Kunping's tribulation. Of course, the latter statement was courteous. Without his suppression, dark creatures would have long since invaded various universes. The Kunping Emperor waved his hand dismissively, stating, "You are too modest. My friend, I have never encountered such a young Supreme Emperor as yourself. Not to mention, you single-handedly subdued the dark beings. No one throughout history has accomplished such a feat." Ji Xian nodded thoughtfully. Suddenly, he sensed a murderous intent emanating from the Kunping Emperor. A wisp of crimson mist clung to his garments, refusing to dissipate. Ji Xian recognized this phenomenon. The supreme murderous intent is a manifestation of the resentment power from a supreme who has met their demise. "What is this?" he inquired, perplexed. The Kunping Emperor looked down, realizing he had neglected to refine these 2 strands of murderous intent. "During your tribulation, 2 emperors from the underworld mountain came here and were slain by me. What business did they have here?" Ji Xian pondered aloud. The Kunping Emperor explained. "It seems someone foresaw that this calamity would present an opportunity for ascension. The emperors from Underworld Mountain have sought, through various means, to explore the path to immortality over the years. The imperial coffin you passed earlier was one such means, though it was ultimately intercepted by you." Upon hearing this, Ji Xian voiced his thoughts and speculations. It is said that this coffin has 2 layers, intended for the resurrection of the Emperor of Fengdu. Are you aware of this? The Kunping Emperor affirmed. "Indeed, but the chances are exceedingly slim. I trust you have observed the state of the immortal domain. It aligns with my earlier conjectures." Ji Xian nodded in agreement. The Kunping Emperor continued. "The reason our realm is unsuitable for ascension lies here. The immortal domain has perished, the great Tao has been damaged, and the old path to immortality has long since been severed. Unless someone carves out a new path, our hopes for ascension are bleak. However, forging a new path is fraught with difficulty. It requires the unification of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. My former brother, the Sword Emperor, failed in this endeavor, alas." The new path to immortality, Ji Xian murmured to himself. Suddenly, he recalled the myriad divine tree within him. Was this not a new path to immortality? After absorbing the celestial roots, the myriad divine tree underwent a transformation. Branches capable of nurturing stars sprouted forth, signifying the convergence of Ji Xian's Tao with the great Tao of heaven and earth. This was a new path, a pathway to his ascension. However, due to the obscure aura of chaos within his mind, Ji Xian currently lacks a distinct direction. Only upon reaching the appropriate realm will all enigmas be unveiled. Yet, he remains uncertain if this path to immortality is suitable for others to tread. His own defiance against the heavens, conquering myriad paths to forge his unique imperial might, is a feat far too arduous for others, especially for his disciples, who, in their pursuit of enlightenment, will inevitably adhere to the laws of this realm, unable to transcend them. This signifies that he cannot solely focus on his own ascension, but must also carve a path to immortality for his disciples. After all, not everyone possesses the capabilities of Ji Xian. With no clear leads, he decided to abandon this line of thought. Presently, he is at the pinnacle of the supreme realm, still a considerable distance from the transcendence realm. Thus, it is prudent to proceed step by step. Ji Xian seemed to have an epiphany as he plucked a small branch from the divine tree within his being and offered it to the Kunping Emperor. The branch, merely a foot long, appeared to encapsulate an entire universe. It shimmered with a crystalline luster, radiating starlight akin to celestial bodies. This branch is an embodiment of Ji Xian's Tao fruit. Upon glimpsing the branch, the Kunping Emperor's pupils contracted sharply, his breath quickening as he recalled Ji Xian's earlier words. "What is this?" he exclaimed, evidently awestruck by the branch's presence. Having lived for nearly 10 million years, he had encountered countless paths, yet none resembled the one before him. Ji Xian instructed, "You have reached the pinnacle of the transcendence realm, and at any moment, you could trigger the heavenly tribulation once again. Although you have evaded this calamity for now, the future remains uncertain. This is my Tao, my path. It does not belong to this realm or universe, but solely to me. You may utilize it for contemplation, temporarily evading the scrutiny of the powers within the immortal domain." The Kunping Emperor cradled the branch with trembling hands, overwhelmed by the revelation that, Within this desolate world, someone has ascended to such heights. After exploring for millions of years without uncovering a path beyond the confines of heaven and earth, almost losing his life in the process, who could have foreseen that the young sovereign before him would emerge? Moreover, through this branch, he glimpsed Ji Xian's life force, revealing that he was merely 2,000 years old, a Dao sovereign at such a tender age. This made him reflect on his own breakthrough to Dao sovereignty at the age of 160,000. What a formidable talent. This realm still holds promise. The Kunping Emperor mused, envisioning the silhouette of a white tiger in his mind. The path you have yet to traverse has been tread by another, haha. He addressed Ji Xian. Thank you, friend. Let us return to the North Sea. The 9 heavens and 10 earths must have undergone tremendous changes. Ji Xian shook his head. There is no rush, you may refine it here. Although a millennium has passed, time remains ample. With the loss of 2 emperors, the Ming Mountain has suffered a severe blow and is unlikely to stir up trouble for the time being. I have instructed my subordinates to bolster the defenses of the 3,000 states in the North Sea, so you need not worry. The Kunping Emperor nodded, relinquishing his insistence on returning. With a grand gesture, he conjured a miniature world, stretching for miles in length and width. Within this realm, a vast expanse flourished, filled with lush greenery and vibrant life. I shall retreat for a while, my dear friend. I trust you will guard the path. As these words left his lips, the figure of the great Emperor Kunping gradually became indistinct, ultimately vanishing amidst the woods. Ji Xian stood atop a peak within the small world, stretching leisurely. He gazed into the depths of the void, where several cosmic portals were scattered. Numerous potent auras wafted forth from these portals, taking on tangible forms as they peered in this direction. Chapter 272, The Gathering of All Emperors. Aiming for the celestial route across the realms of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, a cosmic portal connected to the void space. At this moment, over a dozen powerful auras emanated from various stargates. Observing Ji Xian's circumstances, Ji Xian stood tall upon that small mountain peak and conveyed telepathically to the distance. Fellow Taoists, there is no need for concealment. Please reveal yourselves. Immediately, several streams of radiant light surged forth from the stargates, manifesting in the void space. These were the ancient emperors who had hastened from the 9 heavens and 10 earths, drawn by the opportunity for ascension, eager to investigate further. After millions of years without any celestial beings, the vibrant colors now manifested in the skies, stirring the long-buried aspirations of the emperors. With a resounding thrum, the presence of numerous imperial figures materialized, their mere aura causing the void to collapse in waves. This space was exceedingly fragile, incapable of withstanding the simultaneous emergence of so many ancient emperors. What brings you here, esteemed ones? Ji Xian inquired tentatively, well aware of their intentions, yet choosing not to confront them immediately. A figure clad in a black robe, an ancient monk, stepped forward and bowed slightly. He spoke. I am the monk Molu, hailing from the great Brahma, here to seek the opportunity for ascension. May I inquire if the benefactor is aware of the happenings here? The monk Molu, who once threatened my life. Upon hearing this name, memories of 1,000 years past flashed through Ji Xian's mind. After the news of Ji Wuwang's demise had spread, some of his so-called old friends had emerged, declaring their intent to slay him. Among them this monk Molu. Now, having undergone some changes in appearance, coupled with an ethereal aura surrounding him, the monk evidently did not recognize him at first glance. Ji Xian shrugged and replied, this emperor is unaware, I have just arrived. Humph, such deceit. The opportunity for ascension lies within you, declared an elderly woman wielding a golden scepter. Adorned in a purple robe, her hair as white as snow. A palpable aura of death surrounded her, signaling her impending departure from this world. Ji Xian cast a disdainful glance at her and retorted, you old hag, your mouth may be running, but do not force this emperor to pry open your coffin and incinerate your remains after your demise. You. The elderly woman's narrowed eyes widened in shock, her trembling hand gripping the golden scepter, clearly incensed. Ba, benefactor, let us speak calmly. The monk Molu interjected in an attempt to mediate. Ji Xian sensed a tide of malevolent energy within the monk, revealing him to be a thoroughly corrupted practitioner. Though his demeanor appeared courteous, a subtle intent to kill lurked within his gaze. Ji Xian waved his hand dismissively and said, speak your mind, release your concerns. At our level of cultivation, there is no need for subterfuge. Humph. The elderly woman stepped forward, letting out a cold snort before stating, it is quite simple. The opportunity for ascension manifests in this world, belonging to the realms of heaven and earth, a chance shared among all great emperors. You should join us in comprehending it together. The ancient emperor of the 10,000 poisons remarked, indeed. The arrival of this entity signifies the hope of transcendence within this realm. You should present it, so we may collectively explore its potential, thus maximizing our resources. A Yasha with 3 heads emerged, clearly an ancient sovereign of a primal race. Ji Xian, unfazed, replied, I apologize, but that is not feasible. Please take your leave. This entity is far too perilous for cultivators of your caliber to fathom. As he spoke, he settled into a meditative posture, gathering his long hair into a bun, preparing for the impending conflict. The ancient emperor of the Yasha spoke coldly, You are quite arrogant. We are all emperors here, so what does level matter? If you refuse to share, we shall resort to force. This Yasha sovereign was exceedingly domineering, and without much hesitation, he sought to suppress Ji Xian directly. As he spoke, the other emperors closed in, their towering figures resembling a moving fortress. The only one remaining stationary was the ancient monk from the Moro clan. Ji Xian felt a strange familiarity with the figure in white, as if he had encountered this individual before. Faced with such a formidable assembly, Ji Xian remained composed. Among these cultivators, more than half were but avatars, with few possessing enduring combat prowess. Notably, his attention was drawn to an elderly man in the corner, emanating the aura of 100 shackles. An emperor of such caliber was exceedingly rare. A smile played on Ji Xian's lips as he continued to tend to his hair. Young man, you are rather presumptuous. Do you truly believe we would hesitate to eliminate you? Many emperors have fallen over the years. I would not mind seeing another fall. The elderly woman raised her golden staff, summoning a dark green tempest that stirred the heavens, its potent corrosive force distorting the very laws of the universe. She conjured a terrifying storm of toxins, her voice ringing out, one last time, surrender the immortal root, and we may explore it together, otherwise. Today we'll witness the fall of an emperor. You speak too much, Ji Xian replied softly, as his vital essence surged forth like a torrent, advancing with overwhelming force. You seek death. The woman's voice was icy as she wielded her staff, conjuring dozens of toxic tornadoes that surged toward Ji Xian. An emperor of the Dharma realm dares to be so arrogant, Ji Xian scoffed. Under his command, the oceanic wave of his essence transformed into a roaring golden lion. Towering high, and with a massive paw, it struck down fiercely. Boom, boom, boom. A violent collision ensued, as the golden lion swept through the toxic tornadoes with ease. Turning its attention towards the elderly woman, she raised her staff and cried out piercingly, merely a beast manifested from imperial might. Die. Buzz. A colossal venomous insect materialized behind her, representing her law avatar. However, upon catching sight of the golden lion, the insect involuntarily trembled, frantically burrowing into the old woman's body, as if to evade a terrifying adversary. What was happening? The old woman gasped in shock, amplifying her sacred power to manipulate her avatar, but to no avail. The insect was nearly paralyzed with fear. The golden lion swiftly closed the distance, striking down with its massive paw, causing the insect to explode instantly. Dark green blood splattering in all directions, meeting its demise in an instant. A piercing scream escaped the old woman's lips as black blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. With her avatar shattered, the foundation of her cultivation in this realm was utterly obliterated. She waved her sleeves dramatically, releasing millions of black venomous insects, summoning a talisman that manifested a dense network of vines to thwart the lion's deadly strike. With a thunderous roar, the lion unleashed a ferocious cry, embodying imperial might. Its presence overwhelming. The resounding lion roars shattered the sun, moon, and stars. The insects and vines, influenced by Ji Xian's vital energy, ignited in a golden flame. Crackling and exploding, the lion's roar reverberated, shaking the old woman's body to pieces. She felt a splitting headache, fissures appearing in her spiritual sea. You wretched boy. I shall remember you. Once I break through, I will personally take your life. The old woman struggled to rise, conjuring an imperial talisman for escape, and crushed it in her hand, yearning to flee. You cannot escape. Ji Xian appeared in an instant, swinging a palm the size of a grinding stone, descending upon her. The golden hand resembled a vast celestial nebula, immense enough to obscure the heavens. The tremendous aura of supremacy spread rapidly, manifesting the golden Taiji circle, slowly rotating, emitting a resonant sound akin to the turning of a cosmic gate. Terrified, the old woman screamed, momentarily losing her wits. She clutched her head and fled, each step covering thousands of miles. Yet, to her astonishment, no matter how she ran, she could not escape the bounds of the golden Taiji circle. In that moment, it felt as though the Taiji diagram was the very essence of the universe, the embodiment of eternity. This was the domain of supremacy. She quickly comprehended that this young man before her was an unparalleled supreme being. Wait, young man, I beg for mercy. Ji Xian's braid danced in the wind as he laughed derisively. You spineless creature, old and ugly, with such foul words, this emperor finds you utterly unworthy. Perish. The golden hand descended, instantly reducing the old woman to a mist of blood, her soul's flame extinguished in an instant. One strike, and the emperor had fallen. In the void, the old woman's body burst apart, golden divine blood splattering, the surging waves of divine essence flowing like an ocean, lingering long after. After the emperor's demise, the imperial rules within would remain for countless years unless refined by a great power. Otherwise, this place would become a forbidden zone, and any Saint Realm cultivator who stumbled upon it would meet their end. The old woman's scepter, a golden artifact, floated there, adorned with numerous red beads of creation at its apex. With a sweeping gesture, Ji Xian seized the golden scepter, caressing it thoughtfully. He murmured to himself, an extraordinary creation of an imperial weapon, perfectly suited for those two little fellows. Buzz. Suddenly, the golden scepter trembled violently. Straining to break free from Ji Xian's control, a spectral serpent, stretching over several miles, erupted from the scepter, its gaping maw lunging toward Ji Xian. This was the spirit of the weapon. With the master deceased, the spirit could not achieve its full potential. Ji Xian slowly raised his right hand, his fingers poised together, and a beam of white sword energy shot forth, cleaving the spirit in a single strike. He stowed the imperial weapon and faced the multitude. Who else dared to approach? A thunderous shout reverberated, shattering stone and gold, carrying an overwhelming aura of supremacy that dissuaded any thoughts of resistance. Instantly, several figures among the emperors began to tremble, slowly retreating, already contemplating flight. How could they, mere novices in the imperial realm, stand against a supreme being? A supreme can upheave the heavens and extinguish the universe. Who would dare obstruct them? In an instant, a great emperor of the enlightened path shattered an escape talisman and fled towards the cosmic stargate. None would escape. Ji Xian uttered softly, his gaze fierce, extending his hand to grasp the air, summoning a golden spear imbued with the essence of thunder. With a resounding thud, he hurled it forward, creating a shockwave that erupted into concentric rings, akin to a falling star. The golden spear surged like a bolt of lightning toward its target, illuminating the cold, dark cosmos with its brilliance, accompanied by thunderous explosions as it struck. A scream pierced the air. The great emperor of the enlightened path was pierced through the chest in a single blow, his essence shattered, and divine blood sprayed across thousands of miles. The spectral figures surrounding him dissipated. He was a youthful emperor of the human race, perhaps newly ascended, now rendered powerless. As a fellow human, how could you? Before he could finish, Ji Xian pointed from afar, extinguishing the emperor's primordial spirit, leading to his complete demise. The vitality within this new emperor swiftly waned, and in mere moments, he transformed into a cold corpse, drifting into the depths of the universe. This scene left the other emperors gasping in shock. Although most cultivators were not present in their true forms, they were nonetheless subdued by Ji Xian's presence. Only the ancient emperor of the Yaksha clan, a spectral figure of death, and an elder, seemingly of the Hundred Shackles realm, remained composed. Ji Xian observed the poised emperors, merging momentarily with the manifestation of creation, raising his hand with a flourish, deploying a multitude of celestial formations that sealed this space entirely. Without his permission, none could escape. Of course, there was but one method to leave, by vanquishing him. Witnessing this, even some great emperors of the enlightened path lost their composure. The ability of Ji Xian to slay the previous man in an instant implied that he could do the same to them. They indignantly exclaimed, "What do you mean by this? Do you intend to slay us all here? As fellow humans, why must you be so ruthless? In the face of the ancient race's resurgence, we should unite against the external threat. The impending dark era requires our collective effort. You cannot act thus." A chorus of condemnation arose. Confronted by these demands, Ji Xian merely shrugged, displaying his disdain. He had long ceased to be concerned with the human race. Since the inception of the 10,000 Tao Divine Tree, he had transcended humanity, becoming a natural-born, primordial Holy Spirit. As a primordial Holy Spirit, he belonged to no tribe, possessing no ties to any race, and thus felt no sense of belonging or identity with any ethnic group. In Ji Xian's eyes, amidst the tumultuous era of myriad races vying for supremacy, where cultivators schemed against one another, what difference did it make even if they were of the same lineage? As long as it did not pertain to the interests of the Tao sect or the lives of his disciples, he had no desire to intervene further. Witnessing Ji Xian's nonchalant demeanor, the human emperors felt their faces flush crimson, their anger boiling over. Simultaneously, a sense of panic stirred within them. This young sovereign was resolutely intent on their destruction. The ancient emperor of the Yasha clan stepped forward, clearly stripped of his earlier arrogance, and remarked, "Friend, you are going too far. This old crone and the new emperor are still rulers of your human race. Such actions will only diminish the strength of humanity. Currently, the human race is at war with the ancient clans, and the situation is unfavorable for you. Furthermore, the ominous tide has begun to emerge. In the future, the ancient clans and the human race will inevitably unite. Let us cease hostilities today." The other human emperors, upon hearing this, cast grateful glances at the ancient emperor of the Yasha clan, hoping he and the nearby, yet unfazed, emperor would join forces to suppress Ji Xian and secure a sliver of hope for them. Upon hearing this, Ji Xian's mind drifted back to the ancient emperors he had subdued over 1,000 years ago. He instinctively inquired, "Have your ancient clans engaged in battle with the underworld mountain yet?" The ancient emperor of the Yasha clan replied, "Not yet." Suddenly, a thought crossed Ji Xian's mind, and he wore a skeptical expression as he asked, "How would you know of this matter?" Without a hint of hesitation, Ji Xian's mental fortitude remained unyielding, revealing no cracks. He swiftly pivoted the conversation, stating, "When you came in droves to seize the immortal roots, seeking my life, you never considered reconciliation. Yet now, with danger looming, you wish to negotiate? What absurd reasoning is this? Moreover, do not attempt to morally bind me with the notion of a dark era. 1,000 years ago, When I subdued the darkness, where were you worthless beings? When the extraterrestrial calamity emerged, did any of you step forward? A heavy silence enveloped the emperors. They had indeed only sought the opportunity to attain immortality, without regard for these matters. Noticing their speechlessness, Ji Xian chuckled and turned his gaze towards the several human emperors, tauntingly saying, "How ironic it is that while condemning me, you incessantly proclaim the righteousness of the human race. Yet when faced with the peril of life and death, you place your hopes in the ancient enemies of humanity, seeking their alliance to eliminate me. Are you truly fighting for humanity, or merely for your own selves?" A profound silence fell over the assembly. Ji Xian's words pierced each emperor's heart like sharp steel needles, rendering them speechless. The ancient emperor of the Yasha clan's complexion turned ashen. As a supreme being of the ancient clan, he had never encountered such disrespect. Now, facing merely a human, he unabashedly radiated his murderous intent, fixating his gaze intensely on Ji Xian. The spectral figure of the Grim Reaper rasped, "Since there is nothing left to negotiate, let us engage in battle." Chapter 274, Crushing the Ancient Yasha Emperor. Kill him. Eliminate the traitor of humanity. Behind, several emperors of the human race seethed with indignation, eager to shatter Ji Xian into 1,000 pieces. The ancient monk Moroa stood silently, refraining from any rash action. This white-clad cultivator seemed familiar, yet his identity eluded him. The ancient Yasha Emperor exhaled 2 jets of scalding white steam from his nostrils, revealing his fangs, poised for action. He bore a ghastly visage, with sharp horns sprouting from his head, fish fins adorning his back, and 4 robust arms swinging menacingly, resembling an invincible demon lord. Let us forsake parley and resort to combat. This celestial root does not belong solely to you. A steel fork, glimmering with a chilling light, materialized in his palm, emanating a sinister aura as the ancient Yasha Emperor unfurled his bat-like wings and charged towards Ji Xian. The flapping wings summoned a tempest, manifesting supreme might. As the entire world was suffused with a violet radiance, this was the Emperor's domain of supremacy. Suppress. The steel fork thrust forth, divine light flashing, expanding infinitely like a pillar reaching from the depths of the cosmos towards Ji Xian. The primal essence of the Yasha clan erupted instantaneously, as if it had emerged from the archaic past, cleaving towards eternity. Ji Xian stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing at the advancing ancient Yasha Emperor, channeling the indestructible true scripture, enveloped in golden radiance. A colossal golden figure, towering to unimaginable heights and mirroring Ji Xian's form, emerged, its bare upper body rippling with sinewy muscles. "How dare a mere wildling from the ancient era challenge me?" Ji Xian remarked with calm detachment, subtly raising his hand, pausing midair in a posture of impending strike. Such audacity to manifest a Dharma body. Does a mere human dare to contest brute force with an ancient being? The ancient Yasha Emperor bellowed, an aura of murderous intent radiating from him as he swung the steel fork towards Ji Xian. Boom! The colossal fork descended with tremendous weight, akin to a sprawling ancient mountain, causing the void to tremble violently, as if on the brink of collapse. Path of the Small. Ji Xian's lips curled into a smile, and with a sudden thrust of his half-extended fist, the golden giant mirrored his action, unleashing an iron fist directly towards the descending ancient mountain. The resonant sound of a deep and melodious crash echoed, akin to a celestial drum being struck. A monumental collision ensued. The steel fork was sent hurtling backwards, and the ancient Yasha Emperor felt a sharp pain in his grip. What a formidable physique! He marveled inwardly, astonished to encounter such a powerful human form for the first time. What are you trying to achieve? Suddenly, Ji Xian's voice rang out as he darted from the swirling smoke, swinging a fist as massive as an asteroid towards the ancient Yasha Emperor. Seeking death. The ancient Yasha Emperor gritted his teeth, extending a colossal claw to counter the attack. His stature was immense, rendering Ji Xian akin to a speck of dust before him. Dragon Emperor's Sacred Thunder. Ji Xian infused his fist with the true dragon's divine art, as celestial lightning enveloped him, unleashing a torrent of 1,000,000 fist shadows that flickered in the darkness like arcs of electricity. Boom! A deluge of electric sparks cascaded forth, momentarily ensnaring the ancient Yasha Emperor's gigantic claw, unleashing a torrent of powerful lightning. Suddenly, the ancient demon monarch convulsed, compelled by dire circumstances to forfeit one of his own hands in a desperate bid for escape. Just moments ago, he had exuded confidence. "Come, strike me again." Ji Xian offered no respite, leaping forth as the golden divine spear reappeared in his grasp, plunging it downward with tremendous force. Boom! The shockwave from the explosion enveloped the heavens and the earth, as the spear descended like a celestial thunderbolt, instantly shattering the ancient demon monarch's neck into fragments. Such an unsightly form, yet still clinging to a humanoid shape. Never again shall you wield it. Ji Xian soared upward, lifting his right leg as if to stomp upon the very stars. Crack, crack, crack. Even the formidable flesh of the ancient monarch was pulverized beneath Ji Xian's foot, scattering into numerous pieces that fell into the abyss of the cosmos. "You despicable human, how dare you?" The ancient demon monarch bellowed, his situation utterly dire as only his head remained suspended in the air. He unleashed a piercing cacophony, akin to the sonic waves of a bat, wielding tangible lethality. A counterattack through sound, the sacred art of combat. Ji Xian shouted, morphing countless offensive maneuvers into a resonant wave of retaliation. Crack! The fierce sound waves collided violently, the surging energy waves erupting to form vast mushroom clouds at the epicenter. Caught off guard, the ancient demon monarch suffered grievously, his head reduced to a pitiful state. Involuntarily propelled backward. How utterly humiliating. Why must he wield my techniques? He yearned to regain his corporeal form and continue the battle, yet Ji Xian offered no opportunity. Launching a miniature star domain toward him. Human, do not overstep your bounds. The ancient demon monarch exclaimed in desperation, utterly incapable of mounting a full defense. Would he truly meet his end in such a wretched manner? Ji Xian stood at a distance, the essence of the divine sword swirling fiercely within him. With a mere gesture, he unleashed a sword light woven of black and white, cleaving the ancient demon monarch's head into two halves. The entire scene unfolded with relentless momentum. Ji Xian overwhelming the ancient demon monarch without a hint of doubt. This spectacle left the human emperors nearby in astonishment. Was one of the three unparalleled powers about to fall? I hail from the primordial forbidden zone. You cannot slay me. The ancient demon monarch gathered his spiritual fire into a defensive stance. Ji Xian smirked. With such inadequate prowess, how could he dare proclaim his origins? Very well. Even if you were to reach the Nether Mountains, you would merely be a meal for the Grim Reapers. It would be better for me to extinguish you here. He then prepared to unleash a killing blow to obliterate the monarch's essence. Suddenly, an arrow, trailing a luminous tail, pierced through the air with deadly speed. Ji Xian's gaze sharpened. He had not anticipated an ambush at this moment. He raised his hand to block, manifesting the indestructible golden body, shattering the arrow on impact. 100,000 miles away, a human emperor, bow in hand, felt a chill run down his neck. Ji Xian had set his sights on him. Very well, I shall first eliminate you spineless traitors. Ji Xian, standing upon the golden Tai Chi circle, traversed 100,000 miles in a single stride, instantly appearing before the emperor. Die, under the astonished gazes of the other emperors. The newly ascended archer was reduced to a bloody pulp by Ji Xian's single strike. Thus began the fierce confrontation. In the rear, most of the emperors were merely avatars, with only 3 or 4 having arrived in their true forms. Due to their relatively low realms, they hesitated to take the initiative against Ji Xian. Nevertheless, despite being mere manifestations, their destruction would still have a considerable impact on their true selves. They exerted their utmost efforts, unveiling all their hidden trump cards. Some emperors even summoned their unformed dermic manifestations. The damage to such entities signified a severance of their imperial path, clearly indicating that they had exhausted all their resources. A dazzling divine light instantly illuminated Ji Xian's white robes, as divine techniques and treasured artifacts rained down from all directions. Unfazed, Ji Xian unleashed his might, wielding the true dragon and true phoenix arts with his left and right hands, respectively. With each decisive strike, stars shattered, and the grand laws were thrown into disarray. Every blow he delivered could slay an imperial figure. Thus, the newly ascended emperors in the rear were systematically slaughtered by Ji Xian, their golden divine blood staining his pristine garments. He turned to gaze at the ancient emperor's fleeing primordial spirit, millions of miles away, and remarked with a sinister smile. Why struggle so? He then retrieved the divine bow that had just been aimed at him, drawing it into a crescent shape, the string taut, and released an arrow. Chapter 275. The Son of Heaven's Deification, Extermination of the Boundless Ghost King. As Ji Xian released the arrow, the heavens and earth transformed. And even the deities were taken aback. This arrow was entirely composed of the laws of the Tao, crystalline and translucent, shimmering with a kaleidoscope of colors, yet harboring a chilling intent to kill. With a whoosh, the divine arrow pierced through the void, trailing a luminous tail hundreds of miles long, aiming directly at the primordial spirit of the Yasha Ancient Emperor. The Yasha Ancient Emperor turned, his expression drastically altered, nearly extinguishing the flame of his primordial spirit in fright. He hurriedly shouted to the looming phantom in the distance, "Boundless Ghost King, quickly shield this emperor." In response, a gust of dark green wind swept through, and the specter of death materialized, revealing a ghost king who had attained enlightenment through the spirits of the deceased. Draped in a gray robe, he floated in midair. The ghost king lacked a corporeal form. One hand was a chilling white bone, while the other was a rusted iron hook. The inside of his hood was hollow. 2 green ghostly flames flickering there, resembling eyes. Huh, Yasha Ancient Emperor, didn't you claim you could handle him alone? Why are you now seeking my assistance? The sharp voice echoed, akin to iron hooks scraping against rock, sending shivers down the spines of those who heard it. The boundless ghost king gazed at the incoming arrow, a sinister smile gracing his visage. This strike is indeed formidable, yet it poses no threat, he chuckled ominously. In the face of the glimmering arrow, the ghost king opened his arms to embrace it, showing no intention of defense whatsoever. Oh, Ji Xian, observing from a distance, was somewhat taken aback. It turned out to be a being manifested from soul thoughts. The situation was becoming increasingly intriguing. Just as Ji Xian surmised, the arrow penetrated the Ghost King's form without unleashing a tremendous energy wave, instead neutralized by an icy mental force. Beings capable of enlightenment through ghosts and soul thoughts were fundamentally immortal, unless one could invoke the grand forces of heaven and earth to suppress them. They were exceedingly difficult to deal with. However, the grand forces of this realm belonged to the domain of immortals, far beyond the reach of ordinary emperors, rendering this Ghost King effectively indestructible. The bow wielded by Ji Xian was stripped from the recently encountered archery emperor, lacking the requisite potency. Nevertheless, he possessed myriad means to vanquish this ghostly king. The Ghost King, with rusted hooks, lifted the broken arrow and sneered, "Do hurry and employ your tricks. I sense your vitality is quite robust. I hope you will willingly present your head so that I may siphon your brain matter, thus sparing you from corporeal suffering." Ha. Ji Xian smiled gently and replied, "Very well, with such audacity, remain still and do not move." He then stepped onto the golden Tai Chi circle, transforming into a streak of light that swiftly approached the Ghost King. To further confirm his suspicions, Ji Xian flourished his sleeve, unleashing 99 phantoms of true dragons that spiraled toward the Ghost King. The boundless Ghost King, upon witnessing this, burst into hearty laughter, exclaiming, "How many times must I tell you, it is futile?" With that, he again lifted his robe, revealing a chilling black void within, into which the phantoms of the true dragons were absorbed. The interior of the black hole was filled with a dreadful aura of ghostly energy, extending into an infinite abyss, accompanied by piercing, discordant wails. From within, Ji Xian sensed the tumultuous breath of a mighty river, though he could not perceive its physical form. He vividly envisioned the river in his mind, the river of Yellow Springs. How unexpected to make such a discovery. This Ghost King emerged from the depths of the river of Yellow Springs. Ji Xian mused internally. It is said that the river of Yellow Springs flows from the celestial realm, hidden somewhere among the heavens and earth, yet to be discovered by anyone. Entering the celestial realm was one of Ji Xian's objectives. The tribulations of ascension would undoubtedly attract myriad dark entities, yet perhaps he could glean some clues through this river. With this thought in mind, he addressed the Ghost King. "I initially wished to toy with you a while longer, but it appears there is no necessity." "Oh, what do you mean by that?" "Without an emperor of the mythic realm, no one can invoke the power of the heavenly path. In today's world, even finding a supreme-level emperor is a challenge, let alone one of the mythic realm. They have likely all perished," the boundless Ghost King retorted, his laughter growing more boisterous. In his eyes, even if this white-clad human achieved the supreme status, he could not communicate with the grand forces of heaven and earth. Thus, he believed himself untouchable. "Foolish ignorance," Ji Xian coldly scoffed. Suddenly, an overwhelming aura erupted from his being, with the sun and moon manifesting behind him, nurturing both the lunar and solar deities within. At that moment, intricate patterns of the Tao and symbols of divinity filled the surroundings, accompanied by a scattering of heavenly symbols materializing. The realm transformed into a divine altar, resonating with the profound chants of gods. Ultimate celestial techniques, the Emperor's apotheosis. "What is this?" The Ghost King gasped, the flames of his ghostly essence dimming significantly. Ji Xian began to stride toward the boundless Ghost King. The path of the boundless signifies the celestial way, supreme and unparalleled. How absurd for a mere ghost to claim the title of boundless Ghost King. Today, let this emperor act on behalf of the heavenly path, stripping you of your boundless title and erasing your name from existence forever. As these words echoed, a torrent imbued with the essence of swords surged forth from the depths of the cosmos, revealing a magnificent golden ancient palace, tinged with the aura of celestiality. The great river of the Tao. How could he be manipulated by a mere cultivator like you? The Demon King shrieked in terror, his form dimming considerably as the river of time approached, as if he might dissolve at any moment. Ji Xian, clad in flowing white garments, his hair dancing lightly in the breeze, stepped gracefully upon the golden path laid by the laws of the celestial way. With his left hand, he held the sun aloft, and with his right, he raised the moon, exuding an air of regal dignity, reminiscent of an ancient emperor performing a celestial sacrifice. The divine ancestor proclaimed, "In the name of Ji Xian, commanding 3,000 deities, invoking the true words to eradicate the name of the boundless Demon King, merging with the source of souls to annihilate." A gargantuan divine apparition manifested behind Ji Xian, extending a colossal hand to uplift the river of the sword path. As endless light cascaded downwards, the form of the boundless Demon King gradually faded. He cried out in despair, "No, please stop. I submit. Stop." The spirits and soul thoughts that have attained enlightenment may be deemed immortal, relying solely on their names. In simple terms, even if they perish, as long as someone in this world remembers their names and continues to fear them, even if it is just one person, they can resurrect. This is the terrifying nature of such beings, truly immortal and indestructible. Yet, names are also their fatal weakness. Should someone wield the relevant power to intervene and erase their names from the celestial order, they can be obliterated without the need for violence. Ignoring the Demon King's piteous cries, Ji Xian extended his golden hand and seized the soul source from beneath the Demon King's abdomen. Within it might lie some information related to the so-called Yellow Springs. Suddenly, he sensed the primordial spirit of the ancient Yasha Emperor and that of the Elder from the 100 Cages realm vanishing from sight. Seizing the opportunity while Ji Xian was distracted, they flew toward the small world opened by the Kunping Emperor. Those two fools must think I have hidden my celestial root there. Huh. Well, let this battle give the Kunping Emperor a sense of participation. Ji Xian chuckled heartily, delving into the information contained within the soul source. Chapter 276. The Ghostly Infants of the Yellow Springs. Ji Xian grasped the soul source of the boundless Demon King with one hand, extracting a wisp of divine thought to enter it. It is said that after beings perish, they must enter the Yellow Springs River, where, at the river's end, in the Palace of the Boundless, they must endure the flames of their past lives before being reborn into the cycle of reincarnation. The internal space of the Demon King's mixed essence was vast, akin to a small world. Ji Xian's divine thought, penetrating the soul source of the boundless Demon King, caught a glimpse of a corner of the Yellow Springs. In the expansive sky, a blood moon hung ominously, casting its crimson light through the leaden clouds upon this realm. A yellow river flowed through the center of the world, its source and endpoint obscured. This was the Yellow Springs. Labeled a river, it could more accurately be deemed a sea, stretching endlessly to the horizon, its surface littered with bones, countless forlorn spirits and wild ghosts wandering aimlessly. A celestial pathway materialized above the river, extending towards the dim depths of the world, where innumerable souls traversed, walking toward the unknown. Such a place truly exists. Ji Xian's divine thought took on his own form, hovering in midair, curiously observing all that unfolded before him. Previously, through the study of texts and ancient scriptures, he had learned of the existence of such a realm, but he had always harbored skepticism about it. In Ji Xian's perspective, the concept of reincarnation undoubtedly exists within this world, yet it is not traversed through the river of Yellow Springs. The rebirth of mortals or lower-tier cultivators is orchestrated through the machinations of the heavenly Tao, while those unparalleled emperors possess the ability to control their own reincarnation. However, his understanding has recently undergone a subtle transformation. This river certainly does not belong to the realms of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, but must originate from the celestial domain. Ji Xian cast his gaze into the distance, where the 5-colored divine light penetrated the thick mist, delving deeper into the inner sanctum. Ah, what is this? He murmured softly, sharpening his focus to discover a peculiar life form. It was an infant of considerable size, lying horizontally amidst the sprawling mountains of the netherworld, nearly towering as high as they were. The child lay on its side, enveloped in slumber, its skin a deep red-black, inhaling the ghostly energy of the underworld with each breath. A ghostly infant infused with the essence of the celestial path could indeed be termed a celestial embryo, albeit of an unusual nature, Ji Xian mused. A celestial embryo is destined to transcend into immortality. As of now, within the 9 heavens and 10 earths, there has been no record of a similar entity emerging. Suddenly, the infant emitted a murmuring sound, awakening to reveal eyes stained with crimson, casting its gaze in Ji Xian's direction. Oh, it has noticed me. This ghostly infant possesses some remarkable qualities, Ji Xian remarked. It is worth noting that, although he perceived the infant's location through the essence of the soul, they were ultimately separated by countless universes. The fact that this undeveloped ghostly being discerned Ji Xian's scrutiny from such a vast distance raises the question of whether it is mere coincidence or destined fate. Upon seeing Ji Xian, the ghostly infant appeared to exhibit excitement, opening its gaping mouth, extending its arms, and lifting its legs in a gesture of yearning for embrace. Immediately thereafter, a cacophony of ghostly wails resonated, and phantoms of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood materialized. The infant laughed, a peculiar, eerie laughter, as if it yearned to leap into Ji Xian's arms. Faced with this profoundly unsettling scene, Ji Xian remained composed, finding himself increasingly intrigued by that realm. It seems that a visit in the future is warranted to uncover the true nature of this ghostly infant. With a wave of his hand, he dismissed the illusory screen, retracting his consciousness from the essence of the soul to return to his corporeal form, subsequently shattering it. Ancient texts recount that one may traverse from the azure heights to the depths of the Yellow Springs, where both realms remain shrouded in obscurity. The 9 heavens and 10 earths boast a day known as Azure Heights, according to the cosmic order. Azure Heights resides at the pinnacle of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, while the Yellow Springs lie at the nadir. In contemplation, Ji Xian has surmised the approximate location of the Yellow Springs. Meanwhile, the primordial fire of the Yasha ancient emperor swiftly soared toward the diminutive world created by the Kunping Emperor, closely followed by the Elder from the 100 Shackles realm. He cackled sinisterly. This white-clad human must have concealed the celestial root within that small world. I shall unearth him without fail. The expanse of this realm is but a mere 10,000 miles. Should he manifest his divine powers, he could seize it with a single hand. Presently, his sole concern lies with the enigmatic Elder trailing behind him. Clad in a plain robe, the Elder, save for his long beard, is wrapped so securely that not a trace of his aura escapes. With a crackling sound, the ancient Yasha Emperor harnessed his divine power to manifest a new corporeal form. Though imperfect, it was sufficient to confront unforeseen circumstances. He turned his gaze back towards Ji Xian, who was rummaging through the corpses of the emperors without the slightest concern for the situation at hand. No matter how formidable you may be, such arrogance leads only to emptiness. The ancient Yasha Emperor scoffed. The ancient emperor and the elder arrived in succession, their presence harmoniously aligned without conflict. The ancient Yasha Emperor addressed the elder. My friend, we may both benefit from this celestial root. The elder replied with an air of indifference. Very well. His voice bore no trace of emotion, reminiscent of a cold-blooded assassin. The ancient Yasha Emperor exhaled in relief. Avoiding conflict was preferable. Simultaneously, both extended their hands towards the small world, striving to rend it apart. A thunderous roar erupted as the small world was torn open, revealing the true scene within. Lush forests thrived amidst mountains and plains, verdant and vibrant, with a gentle breeze rustling through, creating a soothing symphony that uplifted the spirit. An elder clad in white sat cross-legged upon a stone, cradling a glistening, rainbow-hued branch, absorbing its power. That was the celestial root. Upon glimpsing the branch, the ancient Yasha Emperor's breath quickened, his heart surged with excitement, and he trembled uncontrollably. The opportunity to ascend to immortality lay before him. Kakik. Countless eras have passed, and numerous heroes of the past have perished on the path to immortality, including the once great heavenly emperor. Yet this chance has been uncovered by me, the ancient Yasha Emperor. He laughed heartily, a sense of triumph swelling within him. If he were to possess this celestial root, would not the ancient clan revere him? The more he pondered, the more exhilarated he became. However, the mysterious elder, upon catching sight of the white-clad old man, gasped sharply, overwhelmed by an urge to cry out. Yet his words lodged in his throat, refusing to escape. The Kunping Emperor opened his eyes, directing his gaze towards him. With a mere glance, the mysterious elder's sea of consciousness shattered into countless fissures, injuring his very essence, causing him to spit forth blood. An emperor at the Hundred Chains realm was thus gravely wounded. Kunping Emperor. In that fleeting moment of realization, he transformed into a dark phantom and fled. The ancient Yasha Emperor watched his retreating figure with confusion. What has befallen this old fool? He disregards the celestial root laid before him. Unfamiliar with the elder before him, the ancient Yasha Emperor had been sealed away millions of years ago and had only recently emerged. Meanwhile, the Kunping Emperor belonged to a later generation, separated by eons. Regardless, the celestial root was paramount. He straightened his immense form and stepped into the depths of the small world. Old man, relinquish the celestial root. I intend to take it. The ancient Yasha Emperor taunted, eyeing the seemingly ordinary white-clad elder. Youngster, you are becoming quite bothersome, the Kunping Emperor whispered. The ancient Yasha Emperor, perplexed, laughed. Old man, what is the matter? Suddenly, darkness enveloped the ancient Yasha Emperor, and he lost all sensation. When his primordial spirit emerged from his body, he discovered that his colossal form had been reduced to a puddle of blood. Without resorting to violent means, the great Emperor Kunping, harnessing the profound principles of the universe, directly severed the physical essence of the ancient Yasha Emperor. In other words, the latter would have no possibility of regaining his original corporeal form unless he commenced his cultivation anew from the very first realm of the mortal domain. The ancient Yasha Emperor, sensing the anomaly, paled dramatically and exclaimed, "What in the world is happening? When did he make his move?" Chapter 277. The might of the Black Dragon's spear. As he beheld his gradually descending physical form from the starry expanse, the ancient Yasha Emperor was struck with profound shock. This old wretch has utterly incapacitated me in an instant. He let out a heart-wrenching howl, his soul aflame with anguish, as if he had lost the most vital part of himself. No matter how he pondered, he could never have anticipated such a conclusion. Who are you truly? He cried out in despair. The great Emperor Kunping retracted his celestial root and approached the ancient Yasha Emperor with a calm demeanor. I am the Kunping of the Northern Sea, he stated. Following this declaration, an overwhelming aura of ascendance erupted, sweeping through the cosmos like a raging tide. The ethereal figure of the Kunping manifested behind him, the Peng embodying the Yang and the Kun embodying the Yin, intertwining as they encircled the great Emperor Kunping in flight. Moreover, a wisp of elusive celestial energy surged forth from behind him, soaring into the heavens and vanishing into the depths of the universe. Half a step into immortality. The ancient Yasha Emperor was struck with terror. How could a peak cultivator of the Ascendance realm manifest here? You are too noisy, prepare to meet your demise. The great Emperor Kunping exhaled a breath of chaotic energy, transforming it into a small vessel that surged toward the ancient Yasha Emperor. Are you truly intending to oppose our ancient clan? Get away. The ancient Yasha Emperor cried out in panic, realizing that even before the small vessel had struck him, his soul fire had begun to dim. With a swift motion, the vessel passed by, shattering the ancient Yasha Emperor's primordial spirit into fragments, leading to the fall of a sovereign emperor. Subsequently, the great Emperor Kunpeng turned his gaze toward the fleeing figure of the elder in white robes. Did you think you could escape? With a single step, he moved with minimal effort, yet traversed a distance that spanned realms. The fleeing elder, despite being a supreme figure of the pinnacle of the Hundred Chains realm, was rendered petrified by the presence of the white-clad Kunpeng. Before that figure, he felt no inclination to resist, channeling all his sacred power into the divine rainbow beneath his feet as he desperately sought to flee. But where could he run? Suddenly, the void ahead rippled, and a man in white emerged. With a sweeping motion of his grand sleeve, Ji Xian conjured a fierce wind that dislodged the elder's hood, revealing his aged visage marked by a dark tattoo inscribed with the character for kill. Seeing this, Ji Xian scoffed. Ah, so you are from the divine assassin dynasty. You, who hid in the shadows while so many emperors besieged me, are quite the cautious one. The elder in white responded. I am the third ancestor of the divine assassin dynasty, known as the Elder of Heavenly Kill. Your blood vitality is too vigorous. Unlike that of a practitioner of the supreme realm, and the divine assassin dynasty never engages in direct confrontation with its enemies. Fellow cultivator, please allow me to depart. I have never uttered any harsh words towards you, nor have I provoked you, nor participated in the assault against you. I merely sought the celestial route to prolong my life. Ji Xian shook his head and said with a hint of mockery, if you truly knew who I am, you would not speak so lightly. Under the perplexed gaze of the elder Tian Sha, Ji Xian retracted the mist surrounding him, dispelling the transformative magic and revealing his true form. It's you. The elder Tian Sha's pupils constricted as he instantly recognized Ji Xian. The figure before him was none other than the master of the Dao sect who had waged war against them more than 1,000 years ago, uprooting the influence of the assassin god dynasty across the 3,000 states. In that moment, a chilling aura of murderous intent surged forth, a reflexive response from the elder, who had long desired to eliminate the man before him due to the havoc he and his disciple had wreaked upon the god dynasty. In the distance, the ancient monk Moro smacked his forehead, finally recalling who this figure in white was, realizing why he seemed so familiar. As the realization dawned upon him, a chill ran down his neck. How had this man reached the supreme realm? Hadn't he just ascended to the emperor level? A millennium ago, in pursuit of vengeance for his old friend Ji Wuwang, he had publicly declared his intent to flay Ji Xian and refine his blood, igniting his soul as a beacon. Now, Ji Xian stood before him in a supreme posture, sending a shiver through his heart. Ah, the mask has slipped, Ji Xian remarked lightly, glancing at the elder Tian Sha. Very well, I shall grant you a chance. Choose between me and the Emperor Kunpeng. If you can defeat either, you may leave. Upon hearing this, the elder instinctively glanced at the Emperor Kunpeng, then resolutely chose Ji Xian. Surely, even if he surpassed the supreme level, it could not be by much. Perhaps I still have a chance, he mused, assessing Ji Xian's strength and believing he could not exceed the limits of the 100 Shackles realm. If that were the case, escape might still be within his grasp. Facing Ji Xian, he revealed the short weapon he had concealed beneath his sleeve. It seems you've made your preparations. Ji Xian acknowledged with a nod, then beckoned to the Emperor Kunpeng. My friend, please continue to refine the immortal roots. I shall handle matters here shortly. Understood. The Emperor Kunpeng did not waste further words, retracting his manifestation and stepping into the small world, sealing himself away. He truly left. The elder Tian Sha felt a surge of joy within. Seizing the moment while Ji Xian was distracted, he unleashed his deadly strike. An alternate space materialized instantaneously, enveloping the realm in darkness. The once vast and starry void now lay shrouded in desolation and gloom. A bone-chilling aura of murder hung in the air, entirely formed by the principles of the Tao. With a sharp flash, a cold glimmer appeared. A flying knife sliced through the pitch-black night, aimed straight for Ji Xian's neck. Ji Xian, standing upon the golden Tai Chi circle, swiftly twisted his body and sidestepped the lethal strike, then landed a foot upon the back of the elder Tian Sha. Boom. The elder was sent flying like a cannonball, crashing through and shattering over a dozen ancient stars, coughing up blood from the grievous injury. The dark alternate space he had conjured disintegrated in an instant. Ji Xian surveyed his surroundings, feeling somewhat disappointed. 100 Shackles Realm Emperor, is this all you have? Show me what you have cultivated within the 100 Shackles realm. If it fails to amuse me, then perish. The elderly figure, known as the Celestial Killer, emerged from the chaotic realm, his face etched with terror as he gazed at Ji Xian. With a single step, he shattered the frail boundaries of the supreme domain. What manner of entity was that golden Tai Chi diagram? Was it also a supreme domain? Just moments ago, Ji Xian, standing upon the golden Tai Chi circle, executed a blinding speed that rendered the old man nearly unable to comprehend, effortlessly evading his lethal strike with a swift sidestep. Assassins are known for their lethal precision, and with his initial attack thwarted, the old man found it increasingly difficult to eliminate his foe. Regardless, he resolved to attack. The Celestial Killer cast aside his gray robe, revealing a withered frame. He let out a resounding roar towards the heavens, and myriad phantom shackles materialized around him. Subsequently, the sound of several shackles shattering resonated, transforming into immortal energy that enveloped the Celestial Killer's entire being. This was indeed the Hundred Shackles realm, a force to be reckoned with. Ji Xian observed with rapt attention, nodding in approval. Practitioners of the Supreme Realm stand at the pinnacle of the human domain. To ascend further, one must break through to the Hundred Shackles realm, shattering the constraints of 108 shackles to embark upon the true path of immortality. Presently, the Celestial Killer had already broken through several shackles, allowing him to unleash a portion of his inner strength, converting it into immortal energy. Attack! The Celestial Killer chose not to strike from the shadows but charged directly at Ji Xian, a desperate gambit with all his might. The immortal energy surged forth like a twisting dragon, heavy as a mountain, capable of overwhelming even the smallest star domain. Now, the Celestial Killer unleashed his full power, condensing it at the tip of his blade and thrusting it towards Ji Xian with ferocity. The very cosmos began to tremble, as the vast immortal energy radiated in all directions, causing the surrounding universe to quake, bowing in submission. I have grasped the essence of the Hundred Shackles realm. Let this end here, Ji Xian murmured softly, then conjured forth a long spear entwined with black dragon energy from the void. The spear seemed to possess a life of its own, vibrating joyfully in Ji Xian's grasp. The Celestial Killer surged forward, his murderous intent akin to a tidal wave. As if accompanied by legions of soldiers, Ji Xian aimed the spear at the approaching foe. Confronted with such a scene, he felt as if he truly stood amidst an army. Inspired, he proclaimed, with unwavering courage, I shall quell this chaotic world, with this spear in hand. I will establish my dominion. The black dragon spear responded to his call, its sharp point erupting with countless strands of dark light, unleashing an astonishing spear thrust. Shatter! The unparalleled celestial artifact exuded an unmatched power capable of shaking the universe. The colossal waves of immortal energy shattered before it, as the spear sliced through the world, echoing like thunder, as if it might rend the very fabric of reality. Without a hint of doubt, the Celestial Killer merely grazed the spear's radiance, and his body disintegrated inch by inch, his essence unraveling. The power of the immortal path swiftly eroded his life force, and amidst a chorus of reluctant and despairing cries, a great emperor of the Hundred Shackles realm fell. In the distance, the ancient monk, Moro, was nearly engulfed in despair. Unable to contain himself, he cursed, by Amit Ba. Not only is Ji Xian a supreme, but he wields a celestial artifact as well. How can one possibly escape? In the next moment, Ji Xian also noticed him. Caressing the long spear in his hand, he smiled warmly and said, You hail from the great Brahma, don't you? Come, I wish to inquire about someone. Chapter 278. Moro. Upon hearing Ji Xian's summons, the ancient monk Moro felt a chill run down his neck, realizing that his time was drawing near. A mighty emperor of the 100 chains had been pierced through by a single spear. What could he, a mere figure of the law realm, do to resist? He hesitated, daunted by the prospect of approaching. Come here when I call you. Ji Xian spoke with an impatient tone, then stretched out his golden hand, descending like an overturned bowl, enveloping the ancient monk Moro within. Moro attempted to struggle against this confinement, but upon realizing that his entire magical essence was shackled within the bowl, despair engulfed him. The disparity in their powers was too great. The more he resisted, the swifter his demise would be. With a flash of golden light, Ji Xian retracted his hand, and in an instant, Moro appeared before him, having traversed a distance of millions of miles. Observing the monk's fearful demeanor, Ji Xian could not help but chuckle. You monk, did you not once boast of your intentions to kill me? Moro, rubbing his bald head awkwardly, replied, Back then, I was young and naive. With a laugh, Ji Xian set up a table and brewed a pot of tea, gesturing for Moro to take a seat. Why are we having tea? Moro, bewildered, found that the anticipated scene of bloodshed and slaughter had not unfolded. Wasn't Ji Xian known for his bloodthirsty ways? The more nonchalant Ji Xian appeared, the faster Moro's heart raced. Here sat a sinister monk, enveloped in demonic energy, now oddly restrained, with the once proud and arrogant demeanor vanishing without a trace. Ji Xian, meanwhile, had propped the black dragon spear behind him and was leisurely sipping his tea. The scene was indeed peculiar. Moro thought to himself, this situation is becoming increasingly strange. What manner of power does the great Brahma's great thunder sound temple possess? After a long pause, Ji Xian finally spoke again. Moro adjusted his attire and replied, The great thunder sound temple is established atop Mount Sumeru, representing the highest doctrinal lineage of Buddhism across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Over 80% of Buddhist mental energies are concentrated on Mount Sumeru for the practitioners of the Great Thunder Sound Temple. There are several ancient beings revered by the devotees as bodhisattvas, holding significant status and terrifying power. Indeed, Ji Xian replied, tapping his teacup. Returning to the subject at hand, have you ever heard the name Indra? Moro's expression grew solemn, and after a moment's hesitation, he responded, I have not heard of him, though there exists an ancient ancestor known as Sakya. Speak of him, Ji Xian urged. The ancestor Sakya is one of the founders of the Great Thunder Sound Temple. Long since absent from the world, it is uncertain whether he has ascended to nirvana, even as a humble monk who has lived for 200 million years. I have grown up hearing tales of his legend. He is a most enigmatic elder monk, said to have transformed from a Bodhi tree, regarded as taboo within Buddhism. It is rumored that he did not perish but instead wanders the world in various incarnations, resolving the karmic affairs of the mortal realm. Some claim to have witnessed one of his incarnations over 1,000 years ago, returning from a mundane world to the Great Thundersound Temple, yet this remains mere rumor. Its credibility yet to be validated, Moro recounted. Is that all? Ji Xian inquired. That is all, Moro affirmed. The ancient monk, Moro, nodded in a manner reminiscent of a chick pecking at grains, then tightly shut his eyes, trembling all over as he awaited the inevitable arrival of death. This amused Ji Xian. Was he truly that terrifying? Chuckling, he queried the monk. Why do you close your eyes? Pray tell, can you recite the scriptures of Buddhism? Upon hearing Ji Xian's intent to employ him, Moro eagerly nodded. Indeed, I can. Though I am a practitioner of the dark arts. I spent some time at the Great Thundersound Temple before my fall from grace. I was expelled for peeping at a certain divine child bathing, which led me down this path of wickedness. Despite the hardships that followed my expulsion, I cannot deny that the divine child possessed an admirable physique. Alas, I was merely a saint king then. Had I been of greater standing, oh, the possibilities. The air suddenly fell into a profound silence. Catching a glimpse of Ji Xian's peculiar gaze, Moro hastily corrected himself. Forgive me, esteemed one, I digress. I am well versed in the likes of the Kitagarbha Sutra, the Kitagarbha Heart Sutra, the Diamond Sutra, the Medicine Buddha Sutra, and the original true meaning of Shakyamuni. I can recite them all by heart. Ji Xian nodded, then set down his teacup and inquired, do you wish to preserve your life? Indeed I do. Moro responded without a moment's hesitation, nodding fervently. The higher one's cultivation, the more one values life. Moreover, as a wicked monk, he had yet to fully indulge in the worldly pleasures, making the thought of death intolerable. However, he harbored a deep-seated confusion regarding Ji Xian's interest in his recitation of scriptures. What significance did such worn texts hold, and for whom did they matter? With a decisive clap on the table, Ji Xian exclaimed, Excellent. I intend to place you beside the great Emperor Kunpeng, serving as his attendant. What say you? Moro, maintaining an outwardly calm demeanor, was inwardly tumultuous. Was this some kind of cruel jest? A wicked monk like himself, known for his nefarious deeds, being summoned to the side of the great Emperor Kunpeng? Wait, Kunpeng. I agree. Moro immediately replied, his eyes gleaming with unwavering resolve. Seeing his reaction, Ji Xian smiled faintly, releasing his grip on the black dragon spear, the razor-sharp aura dissipating in an instant. You are perceptive. His inner machinations revolved around the fact that the great Emperor Kunpeng possessed the duality of the Kun and the Peng, primarily practicing the path of Taiji, the interplay of yin and yang, akin to himself. Ji Xian had interfered with Kunpeng's tribulation, disrupting the balance of yin and yang, which would undoubtedly affect his cultivation. Now, by gifting him a branch of the divine tree, it served as a fortuitous opportunity. However, the yang aspect required a corresponding yin factor to align. Yet, the chance he offered as a yang aspect was intrinsically linked to his own path, not necessarily in complete harmony with Emperor Kunpeng, embodying the notion of yin within yang. Entrusting Moro as his attendant bore certain risks, yet he could wield Buddhist techniques to aid Kunpeng's recuperation, representing yang within yin. The harmonious convergence of yin and yang epitomizes Taiji. Noticing that Ji Xian did not resort to violence, Moro felt a surge of joy. What a serendipitous turn of events. Here he was, a peak transcendent, now aligned with a divine pillar. In the realm of Brahma, due to his affiliation with the evil monks, he was frequently pursued by the orthodox practitioners of Buddhism. Now, having allied himself with the great Emperor Kunpeng, who would dare to lay a finger on him? Thus, the matter was settled. They would wait a few years until the great Emperor Kunpeng emerged from his seclusion. A century later, when the great Emperor Kunpeng finally reappeared, his countenance had improved significantly, now imbued with a rosy glow. Behold, this is your disciple, Ji Xian declared, as he tossed the ancient monk Morigushi toward him. The monk's stature paled in comparison to Ji Xian's, and handling him was as effortless as grasping a chick. Very well, you shall accompany me henceforth. Upon sensing the overwhelming demonic energy within Morigushi, the great Emperor Kunpeng nodded, understanding Ji Xian's intentions. With this matter resolved, my friend, let us return to the Northern Sea, he suggested. Agreed, Ji Xian replied. The great Emperor Kunpeng opened his mouth and released a small boat, merely a few zhang in length. As they stepped into the vessel, a divine light flashed, and they vanished from sight. Chapter 279. Return to the Northern Sea. In the Northern Sea, the leaden clouds hung heavily, casting a dark pall over the black waters, rendering the entire expanse devoid of light. The sea roared with ferocious winds, churning colossal waves capable of submerging entire islands. Surrounded by storms and whirlwinds, the Tianyuan loomed ominously in the sky, exuding blue lightning like a venomous serpent's flickering tongue, piercing through the starry, fragmented clouds. Yet, a small boat glided serenely atop the tumultuous waters, steadfast amidst the raging winds and towering waves, progressing steadily onward. Observing the scenery nearby, Morigushi could not help but exclaim, the waters are vast and tranquil, while the islands rise majestically. The autumn winds howl, and the mighty waves surge. Despite his long existence, he had never ventured into the northern sea, for it was guarded by a great emperor who suppressed all practitioners of the sea, leaving them unable to raise their heads. Now, he had become a disciple beneath the great Emperor Kunpeng and would reside in this maritime domain for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, Ji Xian and the great Emperor Kunpeng sat across from each other, sipping their drinks. "Let me show you a monkey," Ji Xian remarked, setting down his cup. With a flick of his sleeve, the cosmic world manifested, and several small worlds swirled around, from which Sun Huang and a few others emerged, landing on the boat. As Sun Huang appeared, he closed his eyes slightly, adopting an expression of bliss as he sniffed the air around him. "Ha ha ha, after more than 1,000 years. My master has finally allowed me out. If I hadn't come out for a stroll, I might have grown lice." He offered a slight bow to Ji Xian, and, as he turned to grasp the wine jug, noticed the great Emperor Kunpeng seated across the table. Gasping in surprise, Sun Huang instantly recognized the elder before him, and memories of his past exploits in the Kunpeng treasure vault flooded back. Cough, cough. Suddenly, he was seized by a fit of intense coughing. Ji Xian glanced at Kunpeng before smiling and asking Sun Huang, "What seems to be the trouble, Huang?" Sun Huang tugged at Ji Xian's sleeve, feeling awkward as he replied, "Oh, it's nothing, master. I just suddenly felt that the world outside is not as comfortable as within your sleeve. So, I shall take my leave now." With that, the monkey feigned an intention to burrow back inside. "You mischievous monkey, you've torn your clothing." Ji Xian pushed him away, casting a disdainful glance in his direction. Sun Huang, with no other option, turned to the great Emperor Kunpeng and smiled. "Esteemed senior, it has been a long time." The great Emperor Kunpeng cast a brief glance at him and responded with a simple, The atmosphere was remarkably quiet, with Qingqing and her companions standing behind Ji Xian, curiously observing the elderly figure clad in white. "This is the great Emperor Kunpeng, a close friend of my master. You must pay your respects," Ji Xian instructed. "Disciple Qingqing and Aou of the True Dragon Clan, pay our respects to the great Emperor Kunpeng." They both bowed. "Rise," the great Emperor Kunpeng said, raising his hand, from which several strands of glimmering light emanated, penetrating the foreheads of the group. Aou, astonished, discovered within herself a resplendent golden sword, a gift from the great emperor. This is the initial form of the Kunpeng technique, imbued with a hint of chaotic true essence, sufficient for a lifetime of use. Qingqing also noticed a subtle transformation in her chaotic physique, with two treasures, one yin and one yang, swirling above her spiritual sea. The old turtle received a precious elixir that could extend his life, although he found it somewhat redundant. "Wow, even I have something?" Sun Huang exclaimed, as the great Emperor Kunpeng imparted upon him a technique known as Cloud Somersault. The group promptly bowed once more, realizing this immense favor was akin to an imperial legacy, enough to benefit them for a lifetime. Sun Huang pressed his body to the ground, nearly smashing his head against the ship's floor. The great Emperor Kunpeng halted him and said, "There is no need for such reverence. That iron rod you are concerned about is one of the stabilizing treasures of this sea, a severely damaged quasi-immortal artifact. If properly refined, it may be restored. It absorbs the essence of heaven and earth, akin to you. You are destined to be connected. I originally intended to allow you to take it to see how far you could grow. Now that you have taken Ji Daoyu as your master, I have no further concerns. Thank you, esteemed senior." Sun Huang felt a weight lift from his heart and obediently stood behind Ji Xian. Aside from Ji Xian, only the two dogs, Er Ha and Xiao Tian, had not received any gifts. However, they dared not voice their disappointment. It was already fortunate that the great Emperor Kunpeng had spared the wolf god Xiao Tian. The great Emperor Kunpeng extended his palm, gathering the spiritual energy from miles around into his hand, observing it closely until he detected traces of dark matter. This realm has undergone many changes. Dark matter is now prevalent, albeit in low concentration, yet still formidable. With a gentle sigh upon realizing this, he continued, "Alas, this is the fate of the heavens. We cannot intervene." Ji Xian nodded in agreement, having sensed the omnipresent dark matter upon entering this realm. Though its concentration had not yet reached a level capable of corroding the minds of living beings, it was only a matter of time. The desolate North Sea bore this reality, and the universes teeming with myriad races were even worse off. Suddenly, a cataclysmic aura erupted in the distance, as torrents of thunderous tribulation poured down like a torrential rain. "Woof, woof, woof. A living being is transcending the imperial tribulation," Er Ha exclaimed. The group swiftly turned their gazes towards the source of the disturbance. On the tumultuous surface of the sea, a colossal octopus-like sea beast shimmered with golden radiance, soaring against the heavens, harnessing its divine power to withstand the impending thunderous tribulation. The creature's immense form, with 8 formidable tentacles as robust as pillars supporting the sky, connected the celestial dome to the depths of the ocean. As it swung its powerful appendages, the resulting shockwaves could rend mountains asunder and shatter islands into fragments. Moreover, torrents of dragon energy erupted from its mouth, sweeping across the expanse of the 9 heavens. This was a manifestation of its transformation into a dragon. Among the myriad of beings in the sea, there existed but a singular evolutionary aspiration, to attain the true form of a dragon. In this moment, the octopus-like sea beast wielded its dragon energy to suppress the thunderous tribulation, enveloping itself in its might to refine its being. The imperial tribulation was awe-inspiring, obliterating vast swathes of the surrounding space, exposing the underwater mountain ranges, and creating hundreds of thousands of craters, densely scattered. The flow of seawater struggled to keep pace with the devastation, resulting in interruptions of its currents. Sun Huang and Qingqing gazed in astonishment, their eyes wide. It was their first encounter with the visage of an imperial tribulation, a spectacle that was profoundly shocking. Such a cataclysmic scene was undeniably terrifying. Ji Xian and the Kunping Emperor did not hasten to depart, but rather continued to drift upon the waters of this domain. Months later, as the heavenly tribulation concluded, the octopus seemed to sense the small vessel, soaring towards it with purpose. Chapter 280, The Tales of Tang Valley, Conquering the Path Against Destiny. The octopus, with its massive physique, approached the small boat. What the heck, it's enormous! Sun Huang exclaimed, utterly astonished as he compared it to his own size. Akin to a dragon next to a loach. The others beside him fell silent, bemused by the peculiar focus of the monkey. With a thunderous rumble, the octopus traversed the celestial expanse, its colossal form colliding violently with the myriad stars. Amidst the cacophony of explosions, it gradually descended, transforming into a young man with flowing red hair, alighting upon the ship. Observing his lack of hostility, Ji Xian offered a chair for him to sit upon. To his surprise, the red-haired youth knelt on one knee, bowing respectfully to both the Kunping Emperor and Ji Xian. Greetings, esteemed seniors, he proclaimed, fully aware that the figure on his right was the guardian of the Northern Sea, a being of half-step, true immortality. The individual on his left was the sovereign of the western expanse of the northern underworld, the Xian Emperor, a peerless powerhouse capable of contending with the supreme. Thus, he refrained from displaying any of the arrogance befitting an emperor. Ji Xian responded with a smile. You are too courteous, my friend. As fellow emperors, we are of the same caliber. There is no need for such distinctions of seniority. Attaining the status of an emperor is no easy feat. One must possess grace and dignity. Let us address each other as equals. Nearby, the ancient monk Murrah heard these words, his lips twitching, feeling a twinge of discontent. Why did he, of all people, not receive such treatment? Ji Xian, sensing Murrah's disquiet, discreetly nudged him under the table, suggesting, Murrah, why not pour some wine? With a reluctant demeanor, the ancient monk approached and filled the red-haired youth's cup with wine. What a travesty! A great emperor of the Dharma realm pouring wine for an emperor of the enlightened path. What a humiliation! In his heart, he warmly extended greetings to Ji Xian's family. Thank you for your guidance. Zhang Tian, without any hesitation, took a seat, lifted his cup, and drank it in one gulp. Following this, he engaged in conversation with Ji Xian and the Kunping Emperor. During their discourse, Zhang Tian spoke of the unusual occurrences in the Northern Sea, where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had intensified more than double, rendering the aquatic beings stronger than ever before. He himself was a living example of this phenomenon, having embarked on the fast track of this era, discovering a thread of the world's energy, which enabled him to transcend and become an emperor. Subsequently, Zhang Tian recounted the significant events of the past millennium across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The emergence of the Taichu clan and the fierce battle between the Northern Dipper and the Reincarnation Sanctuary were anticipated by Ji Xian. What intrigued him most was the celestial path unearthed by the White Deer Academy. He suspected that this so-called celestial path might be linked to the tainted Dark Star Gate. Powerful figures from all directions gathered at the White Deer Academy, where nefarious plots undoubtedly brewed, aimed at unleashing the Dark Imperial Cavalry. Ji Xian covertly summoned. My subordinate is here. Deploy a portion of our forces to occupy the White Deer Academy and report any unusual occurrences. Understood. The entire exchange transpired within the confines of the system space, unnoticed by those nearby. Oh, and there have also been disturbances north of the Northern Sea. As if something is about to emerge, Zhang Tian added. Haha, those old fellows from Tang Valley are beginning to stir restlessly, chuckled the Kunping Emperor, a glimmer of murderous intent flashing in his eyes. The location of the Jinwu clan lies in Tang Valley's Fusong, which you must refer to as the Celestial Antiquity. Ji Xian caught the implication in the Kunping Emperor's words and inquired. Indeed, there exists a mysterious region north of the Northern Sea, sealed by formidable restrictions. It is one of the entrances to the Celestial Antiquity, Tang Valley. The Kunping Emperor did not deny this, but rather divulged the truth to Ji Xian. For these past years, I have guarded this place, firstly to prevent the emergence of the underworld mountain from invading the 3,000 states, and secondly to resist the prying eyes of those ancient beings from the Celestial Antiquity upon this realm. As time draws near, the Celestial Antiquity will soon breach its constraints and manifest in the world, especially the Jinwu clan, who are inherently warlike and delight in trampling upon the living. A fierce battle is inevitable. With a thought, Ji Xian remarked, when the time comes, I can dispatch troops to assist you in suppressing them. But I seek to enter the Celestial Antiquity to pursue a suspected source of darkness and eliminate this calamity. No problem, when the time comes. Feel free to seek my assistance, the The Kunping Emperor readily agreed. Meanwhile, the Moro monk, listening in, felt his heart race. The discussions about the source of darkness and the conflict with the Jinwu clan seemed perilously risky. Had he not agreed to become a disciple to secure his own safety? Why did the situation now feel so precarious? He realized he had boarded a treacherous ship. Yet ultimately, he acquiesced within himself, yielding to Ji Xian's formidable presence. Having no room for resistance at that moment. Shortly thereafter, Zhang Tian took his leave, stating his intention to consolidate his cultivation before establishing a school in the Northern Sea, or perhaps directly aligning himself with Ji Xian. The small vessel has drifted upon the vast ocean for over a decade, gently swaying towards the direction of Xianzhou. Throughout this journey, Ji Xian encountered the myriad charms of the North Sea. Countless races thrived within the depths, their numbers far surpassing those of the 3,000 states. Each possessed considerable strength, and together they formed an immense force. The Emperor Kunping explicitly stated that these factions would heed his command, should the looming darkness descend. Ji Xian could lead them in repelling external threats. Ji Xian expressed his gratitude, envisioning himself commanding legions in his mind. Suddenly, a thought struck him. He aspired to establish a colossal power encompassing the entire universe, even reaching the realms of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. At that moment, the Emperor Kunping inquired, "My friend, I have refined your celestial route and gained much from it, enabling me to evade heavenly tribulations. However, there remains one matter I do not comprehend. Pray, enlighten me. What path do you intend to pursue?" The Emperor continued. "The old ways of attaining immortality have long ceased to be viable. Your path stands apart from the myriad others and is destined for greatness. Should your cultivation reach the realm of ascension, how would you proceed?" This inquiry served as a means for Ji Xian to reflect and perhaps forecast a fragment of the future. After a moment of contemplation, Ji Xian replied, "The realm of ascension, also known as the path of severance, entails the cutting away of human desires and worldly attachments. It is a divine blade fashioned by the heavens to strip away the superfluous from the cultivator, rendering them light as a feather, thus enabling their transcendence into immortality. Yet, within the current grand milieu, this approach is inherently flawed. Who amongst us has pondered the arduous journey to reach the realm of emperors? The pursuit of cultivation is indeed an act of defiance against the heavens. Why, at the final juncture, must one passively await the heaven's blade to sever their existence? I believe that immortality embodies freedom. Cultivation should stem from the heart's desires, guided by one's inner voice, rather than being coerced into relinquishing that which is most cherished. Were it within my power, I would rather transform into a divine blade, ascending defiantly to cleave the heavens, rather than idly waiting for it to strike me down." Upon hearing these words, the Emperor Kunping was astounded, his ears ringing and his mind ablaze with newfound clarity. What a bold assertion of defiance! He exclaimed, his excitement palpable. After absorbing Ji Xian's profound understanding of the path to immortality, he found himself unable to quell the tumult within. You are right. The environment has irrevocably changed. We cultivators can no longer adhere to the old ways and passively await the heavens to deliver a blade to sever us. In this great age, as calamities arise, all must strive for their own fortune. Even the pursuit of immortality is no exception. Ji Xian concurred. Indeed, the more the heavens seek to constrain us, the more we must strive to transcend. If the heavens wish to sever our ties to the mundane, then we shall deliberately oppose that decree, shedding the mantle of emperors to immerse ourselves in the mortal realm, in pursuit of our own paths. This is the essence of immortality. This is true freedom. Subsequently, the two engaged in further discourse. The Emperor Kunping imparted his experiences from the realms of hundred shackles, myth, and ascension to Ji Xian, all the while marveling at the path Ji Xian had traversed through the realms of clarity, law manifestation, and supreme. Especially upon witnessing the resplendent golden Tai Chi circle and the 7 divine forms, he was increasingly convinced of Ji Xian's extraordinary innate potential, deeming him worthy of the title the foremost among the realms of heaven and earth. Reflecting on his own journey through these paths years ago, he recognized that he had never been as astonishing as Ji Xian. There was another item that Ji Xian produced from his sleeve, a piece of emerald green tortoise shell. This was discovered amidst the ruins of a stone tablet when he first entered the immortal domain, a discovery that had previously led to a confrontation with dark creatures. A flicker of surprise passed through the eyes of the Kunping Emperor upon seeing the green tortoise shell. This was left behind by a formidable being known as Zhenwu. Ji Xian replied, "Zhenwu? Is that him?" A figure quickly flashed through the Kunping Emperor's mind. "Do you know him, fellow Taoist?" Ji Xian inquired eagerly, realizing that this pertained to a being of immortal caliber. Indeed, the current leader of the Imperial Alliance is the great Emperor Zhenwu, who, like myself, belongs to the ancient celestial clan. He is a Xuanwu. However, this old fellow has not emerged from seclusion for over 1,000,000 years. I wonder if he has perished. The Kunping Emperor elucidated. Ji Xian's thoughts stirred, and he could not help but ponder. The great Emperor Zhenwu, having entered that realm, must be an immortal-level powerhouse. Yet, he appeared in the recent ancient era. Could it be that there exists a method to evade the corruption of darkness, allowing an immortal to survive until now? After a moment's contemplation, he dismissed this thought. Since the Kunping Emperor had not specifically emphasized the great Emperor Jinwu's cultivation level, he surely was not an immortal. With this lingering question, Ji Xian inquired about the great Emperor Jinwu's cultivation. Like myself, he is at the pinnacle of the feather transformation realm, making him one of the mightiest beings in this realm, the Kunping Emperor responded. Upon hearing this, Ji Xian surmised that the great Emperor Jinwu might have forsaken his cultivation to endure until now. As for how he could live for tens of millions of years, it was perhaps due to his tortoise-like attributes. As the saying goes, 1,000-year-old turtle, a 10,000-year-old tortoise. Thus, it was not astonishing for one who had once been an immortal tortoise to exist for such a length of time. Lost in thought, he toyed with the tortoise shell in his hand, his fingertip gliding over every crevice of the shell. Suddenly, the transformative manifestation within him stirred, and the five-colored divine eye instinctively reacted, showering boundless radiant light upon the tortoise shell. Consequently, golden runes began to emerge automatically on the surface of the shell, their minuscule script appearing as if animated, densely arranged, and combined to reveal a Dao diagram. A celestial tome. Ji Xian gazed intently at the gradually materializing golden runes, missing not a single character, eager to comprehend the knowledge recorded within. After a prolonged moment, he began to grasp its essence. This celestial tome did not document immortal scriptures or secret texts. Rather, it chronicled the truth behind the fall of the immortals and the decline of the celestial path across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It turned out that a monumental upheaval had erupted within the immortal domain back in the day, with various deities and factions succumbing to the encroachment of darkness, plunging that world into an irretrievable abyss. The dark turmoil persisted for countless epochs, ultimately leading to the annihilation of the immortal domain. The universe encompassing the 9 heavens and 10 earths was, naturally, also under the looming threat of darkness. At the final crisis point, the celestial beings of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, along with the ancient clans from beyond the realms, set aside their differences to unite in their efforts against the tide of darkness. However, the dark beings were overwhelmingly powerful, resulting in the fall of most celestial beings. In the final moment of crisis, the remaining strong individuals severed the connection between the celestial realm and the 9 heavens and 10 earths, effectively sealing the portal that linked the two realms. Consequently, the celestial beings became tainted by misfortune, bearing immense costs, and many perished in the darkness, including the ancestor of the Ji family, Ji Xianyuan, the ancestor of the Jiang family, Jiang Shishan, as well as the true dragons and white tigers within the celestial ancient realm. The ancient celestial court they established once collapsed, leading to the resurgence of heroes in this world. Yet, with the waning of the heavenly Dao's power, the celestial forces of this realm also completely diminished, and over time, celestial beings vanished entirely from the land. To protect the beings of the 9 heavens and 10 earths from the encroachment of darkness, the celestial beings acted collectively to sever the celestial path, resulting in the absence of celestial beings in the present day. However, their actions were born out of desperation. With the inherent power of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, even with celestial beings, they could not withstand the onslaught from the celestial realm. The tragic aftermath of that battle left the watching Kunping Emperor visibly shaken. Although he had lived for an extensive period, he was ultimately a figure of a later era, having not experienced that time. Now, upon learning the truth, he felt profoundly moved, rendered speechless for a long while. The turtle shell gradually lost its luster, returning to Ji Xian's hands. The Jinwu Emperor had likely placed that stone tablet there so that future generations arriving at this place could uncover the truth of the past. Ji Xian was similarly affected, especially when envisioning the celestial beings fighting side by side against the darkness. Millions of years later, darkness had begun to manifest its momentum, and a great upheaval might erupt once again in this land, replaying the chaos of the celestial realm from yore. This further solidified his resolve to establish a formidable power, consolidating all forces that could be unified beyond the existing strength of the Dao sect, in preparation for a united front against the darkness in the future. He shared this notion with the Kunping Emperor. After pondering for a moment, the Kunping Emperor nodded and asked, similar to the ancient celestial court, "This is a meaningful endeavor. What name do you intend to give it?" Ji Xian's inner calm momentarily quaked, as if experiencing an adverse reaction. Yet, he quickly regained his composure, a name flashing through his mind. He replied, "In the past, the Ji family founded the ancient celestial court, gathering heroes and stabilizing the 9 heavens and 10 earths. I aspire to establish the heavenly court, leading the beings of this realm in the same manner." Chapter 282. Returning to Xianzhou in the vast ocean, aboard a small boat. The Kunping Emperor clinked cups with Ji Xian. He smiled gently and said, "The heavenly court, my friend, you possess great ambition. However, be prepared mentally. For the 9 heavens and 10 earths are rife with fragmented powers and intricate forces, and several ancient figures at the semi-celestial level still endure. Once your ambition is revealed, countless individuals will come forth to trouble you. The ancient celestial court and the heavenly sword palace once unified the 9 heavens and 10 earths, which caused some local tyrants to feel suppressed and resentful toward both entities. In recent years, similar ideas have been proposed, but ultimately, they were met with collective opposition and suffered annihilation. In the midst of the great upheaval, amidst the tumult of all things vying for opportunity, no one desires the emergence of a force that could overshadow their own. Upon hearing these words, Ji Xian's countenance displayed a resolute determination, unwavering in his resolve. I, Ji Xian, have ascended to the ninth heavens and delved into the depths of the earth, achieving the pinnacle of the Tao at the age of 2000. With a mere flick of my fingers, I can vanquish myriad foes, and with a wave of my hand, I can cleave through countless paths. I have seized the opportunity to attain immortality and carved my own imperial path. I firmly believe that no one throughout history has accomplished such a feat. Unifying this realm is, for me, a matter of course. The Emperor Kunpeng, upon hearing this, nodded in admiration. Friend, what grand aspirations you possess. If that is the case, count me in. His cultivation had long since reached the zenith of this realm. Aside from achieving immortality, there was nothing further for him to pursue. Since the hope of seeking immortality had faded, he had remained stationed in the North Sea, reluctant to venture forth. And the passage of countless years had dulled his once fiery spirit. Now, however, with Ji Xian forging his own path and harboring lofty ambitions, the Emperor Kunpeng glimpsed a glimmer of hope. What had once eluded that individual might indeed be within Ji Xian's grasp. Naturally, he was welcomed. Ji Xian replied with a smile. Once the Celestial Court is established, having both him and the Emperor Kunpeng at the helm would surely deter those petty intruders who might dare to invade. Friend, if you wish to establish the Celestial Court, you will need to find a treasure capable of subduing the great forces of this realm, serving as a national treasure. Have you given this any thought? The Emperor Kunpeng inquired. Ji Xian responded, Indeed, I have given it thought, yet to fully comprehend the great forces of this realm, further preparations are required. We shall discuss this another time. There is still ample time ahead. That is splendid. The Emperor Kunpeng nodded, refraining from further inquiry. Subsequently, the two indulged in hearty libations, drifting upon a small vessel across the vast sea. In a moment of reverie, they had become intimate friends. During this time, Ji Xian even presented a portion of the flesh of the nine-headed Jiao Emperor to the Emperor Kunpeng, urging him to nourish himself. Suddenly, the quiet Xiaotian dog in the corner began to make a ruckus, clamoring for a taste. Last time, it had been kicked away by Sun Huowang and had missed the opportunity to partake. Sun Huowang, unceremoniously, shouted, Get lost, you foolish dog, and with a swift kick, sent the little black dog tumbling off the boat. The Xiaotian dog found itself in a pitiful state, drenched and pursued by a colossal sea beast, compelled to swim 30,000 miles, much to the amusement of the onlookers. Ultimately, it was the two-hued hound that intervened, unleashing a dark light to rescue it. Time passed without notice as the group leisurely traversed countless maritime expanses, gradually approaching Xianzhou, where the coastline began to come into view. I must take my leave. I shall visit again another day. The Emperor Kunpeng said to Ji Xian, as significant changes had occurred in the North Sea, necessitating his attention in certain areas. Farewell, my friend. Ji Xian clasped his hands in salute. After watching the small vessel depart, he entrusted his disciple within the palm of his hand into a miniature world, and with a single step, traversed hundreds of thousands of miles, returning to Xianzhou. Along the coast, formidable fortifications were erected, and the naval forces of Xianzhou were stationed there. The navy had been brought forth by the imperial steed, and after over a millennium of development, it had grown increasingly powerful. At this moment, dawn was breaking, the sun slowly rising above the sea, partially hidden by its surface. The soldiers on guard were busy with their shifts, bustling about. Ji Xian, wishing not to disturb them, quietly entered the depths of Xianzhou. Inside a tea house, he instructed the waiter to set a table for him. Though he had not eaten for over 1,000 years and had long since ceased the need for sustenance, he still felt a peculiar itch in his stomach. He gazed at the delicacies before him and took a bite. Beside him, the howling dog devoured its food ravenously, tears streaming down its face, murmuring indistinctly. Having been out for so long, it was the first time it had tasted food, and it felt utterly stifled. The nearby husky remained composed, panting at the passers-by outside, occasionally pawing at them, behaving no differently from an ordinary dog. Truth be told, Ji Xian found it hard to discern whether it was genuinely foolish or merely pretending. Qingqing picked up a plate and stepped outside. Not wishing for anyone to witness her eating, not even Ji Xian, whom she regarded as a father figure. Aou, however, looked at the food on the table with wide-eyed curiosity, cautiously sampling each dish, her mouth soon filled with delight. Coming from the realm of the immortal ancient, she was unfamiliar with such fare, and her reactions were nothing short of fascinating. Upon leaving the tea house, the group continued westward, traveling in a modest carriage across the borders of the former wasteland of Wanyaozhou. The weather was splendid, the sky unmarred by clouds. Inside the carriage, Sun Huowang leaned wearily against the window, gazing outward. Suddenly, a thunderclap resonated from 1,000 miles away, followed by dark storm clouds gathering and fierce winds rising. Someone is transcending the tribulation, he remarked lazily, glancing in that direction. Reaching the Saint Sovereign realm, he found little interest in the tribulations of mere mortal cultivators. However, Upon recognizing the figure, he jolted to attention, exclaiming, "Wait, that is Xiao Dou?" Surprised to see his old acquaintance had achieved sainthood, he marveled at how, after a millennium, he had not only survived but thrived. Seeing this, Ji Xian halted the carriage, deciding to linger for a while. Meanwhile, the colorful sparrow, sensing Ji Xian from miles away, fluttered over, its feathers even more vibrant than he remembered, gleaming like a multifaceted gemstone. Chirp, chirp. The sparrow flitted into Ji Xian's embrace, chirping sweetly as if in affectionate play. Intrigued by this enigmatic creature, Ji Xian allowed it to remain by his side. The sparrow perched on his shoulder, pointed its wings toward the direction of the thunderstorm, then patted its own chest, seemingly seeking praise from Ji Xian. After some contemplation, Ji Xian understood its intentions. Oh, the mortals, mere mortals in this grand world, he mused, smiling at the sight of Xiao Dou transcending his tribulation in the distance. Chapter 283, The Path of Mortal Affection. Love at first sight. Before long, the saintly tribulation came to an end. A middle-aged man radiated an immense vitality, cloaked in dazzling light as he descended from the skies. "Xiao Dou, over here." Sun Huang stood atop his staff, calling out to the figure soaring thousands of feet above. "Monkey Grandpa?" The moment Xiao Dou laid eyes on Sun Huang, doubt crept into his mind, but after a few moments of confirmation, tears of joy streamed down his face. "You rascal, you've managed to survive." Upon their reunion, Sun Huang patted his shoulder. In his heart, Xiao Dou had left an indelible mark. A mere mortal dared to stand up for him and Ao Tian, braving a tempest of the void at the cost of his own life. Such valor was truly astounding. In a world where everyone lived in constant fear, prioritizing self-preservation above all else, he was different. From this mortal, Sun Huang discerned the kindness, courage, sincerity, and simplicity that many cultivators lacked. During the over 1,000 years spent at sea with Ji Xian, he had often assumed that Xiao Dou had long since passed away. After all, the lifespan of a mortal is fleeting. Even with some cultivation, few live beyond a few millennia. Yet, to his astonishment, Xiao Dou was still alive. Their conversation flowed easily, filled with laughter. "Monkey Grandpa, I'm not as remarkable as you think. I was indeed close to death. My son told me that on the day I was about to pass, a 5-colored divine bird descended from the heavens, bringing with it a supreme, sacred herb. This herb not only cleansed my marrow and strengthened my constitution, allowing me to attain sanctity and extend my life, but it also brought prosperity to my family." Sun Huang, astonished, exclaimed, "Wow, how incredible. If only I, son, could encounter such a divine bird, I would surely have a good chat with it." From afar, the 5-colored bird, having overheard Sun Huang's words, leapt in shock, its feathers bristling, and it dove straight into Ji Xian's collar. With keen hearing, Sun Huang glanced back at the 5-colored bird and chuckled. "Why are you so frightened, little bird? I wasn't referring to you." Xiao Dou followed his gaze, and was taken aback upon seeing the 5-colored bird nestled in Ji Xian's arms. Trembling, he stammered, "Could the color of those feathers belong to the divine bird my son spoke of?" Simultaneously, he took note of Ji Xian. "Monkey Grandpa, the one seated in the vehicle seems somewhat familiar." "Oh, that's my master," Sun Huang replied nonchalantly. "He has a peculiar habit of changing his appearance when he goes out." "Why didn't you mention this sooner?" Xiao Dou hastily descended from the sky, landing before the vehicle, and bowed deeply. "Commoner Xiao Dou pays respects to the Xian Emperor. Rise." Ji Xian said through the vehicle window. "Thank you, Xian Emperor. How have you been?" Ji Xian inquired. Xiao Dou then recounted the events of his life over the years. After returning from the ancient mines, he settled in Qingguang City, only to face turmoil and the loss of his mother and wife in the ensuing chaos. After Qingguang City fell, he took his young son to Xianzhou, where, relying on his modest cultivation, he managed to scrape by. His son, possessing commendable aptitude, cultivated to sanctity, joined the military of Xianzhou, achieving some modest military exploits and eventually marrying and starting a family here. As the conversation unfolded, Xiao Dou's eyes brimmed with tears, rendering him speechless. Ji Xian nodded, acknowledging this mortal with whom he shared a fleeting acquaintance. Beside him, Qing Qing gazed at Ji Xian with a look of perplexity. Unable to fathom why such a transcendent figure as his master, a supreme emperor of great stature, would deign to converse with someone so inconspicuous. "Your Excellency, I shall take my leave. My family awaits my safe return," Xiao Dou said, rising to bow once more, preparing to depart. "Very well, go," Ji Xian waved his hand. Drawing the carriage window shut, the group then set forth towards the direction of Jinyan Mountain. After a while, Qing Qing voiced her curiosity to Ji Xian. With a gentle smile, he replied, "Qing Qing, though you have traversed through 9 lifetimes and rooted yourself in the vast expanse of heaven and earth, your time has mostly been spent in cultivation or elevated as a practitioner, far removed from the myriad realities of the mortal realm, have you not?" Qing Qing nodded in agreement. Ji Xian continued, "My interest in him stems from a desire to understand how an ordinary mortal, devoid of connections, resources, or influence, survives amidst this grand calamity of heaven and earth. We, the practitioners of the sacred and emperor realms, often disdain mingling with those of lower status, consumed by our pursuit of strength. Yet, the higher one ascends in cultivation. The more one realizes that the most profound truths of existence are often found hidden within the mundane intricacies of life. This is the path I intend to follow. Before achieving immortality, I must immerse myself in the mortal world for ages. Oh, I seem to grasp a bit of it. Ching Ching remarked, her face illuminating with understanding. Nearby, Ha, having overheard this discourse, became animated, sticking out his tongue and barking joyfully. Though he was oblivious to the meaning of his own outburst, Xiao Tian, however, regarded the conversation with disdain, finding it incongruent with his beliefs. Yet, he dared not display his thoughts, for Sun Huowang stood nearby, observing him with an imposing presence, prodding him with a stick. The carriage journeyed for several days, leisurely arriving at the foot of Jinyan Mountain. Soon, the group entered the grand courtyard of the Dao sect. In the distant sky, a golden true dragon spiraled downwards. Ao Tian had grown to an impressive length, surpassing 10,000 feet, and his cultivation had broken through to the sacred sovereign realm, rendering him several times more powerful than before. At that moment, he was enveloped in golden lightning, his scales and flesh pulsating, exuding a torrent of vibrant life energy. Such phenomena vividly showcased the vitality of this young, true dragon. Beside him, Ao Yu watched in astonishment, her mouth agape as she sensed the surging life force within Ao Tian. In terms of bloodline, she realized she was far inferior. In an instant, she envisioned the grand reproductive plans for the true dragon clan over the millennia to come. Senior, that dragon. Ao Yu approached and inquired. Ji Xin replied, Ao Tian, like you, is of the true dragon lineage, and I have raised him myself. Ao Tian, what a splendid name. Ao Yu gazed dreamily at the dragon soaring above, a flush of crimson creeping onto her cheeks as she thought, he is the one. Woohoo! Welcome home, my lord. Ao Tian descended gracefully, landing before Ji Xian and manifesting his human form. Over a millennium has passed, yet he still dons the resplendent golden armor gifted to him by Ji Xian. His brows now carry an air of valor, reflecting a maturity that is unmistakable. Greetings, my lord. Ao Tian rushed forward, kneeling before Ji Xian and embracing his leg, overwhelmed by the longing that had built up over 1,000 years apart. Oh, who might this be? He wondered, noticing Ao Yu standing behind Ji Xian. This is Ao Yu, a member of the true dragon clan whom I brought back from the North Sea, Ji Xian replied. She is truly beautiful, just like me, a true dragon as well. In the bloom of his youth, as he began to experience the stirrings of affection, Ao Tian was instantly captivated by Ao Yu's exquisite and enchanting visage. His nostrils flared, releasing 2 puffs of vapor, and he became animated, his tail swaying vigorously behind him. He tugged at Ji Xian's garment, gesturing towards Ao Yu, and earnestly declared, My lord, I wish to marry her. Chapter 284. The wedding of Ao Tian. As soon as Ao Tian spoke, a profound silence enveloped the gathering. Everyone stared at him in astonishment. Having just reunited, they had barely exchanged pleasantries, and here he was, proposing marriage to someone else. Ji Xian opened his mouth, momentarily at a loss for words, taken aback by the boy's bluntness and unreserved expression of his desires. My lady, do you consent? Ao Tian rose, adjusting his attire and extending his right hand, suddenly adopting a gentlemanly demeanor. Ao Yu was amused by his unexpected declaration. As a quasi-emperor, she had existed for over 1,000,000 years due to her lineage and the ceiling of her power, and here stood this little dragon, merely a sacred sovereign, with a bone age of just a couple of thousand years, referring to her as my lady. Nearby, Xiao Tian Dog felt a jolt of disbelief. What was this boy thinking? Sun Huowang wore a peculiar smile as he observed Ao Tian, murmuring, Goodness, how foolish. Shouldn't he pursue her first before proposing? Who proposes marriage upon their first meeting? If you manage to pull this off, I, son, shall eat 300 pounds on the spot. Ao Yu stepped forward, placing her delicate hand upon Ao Tian's. What? Sun Huowang exclaimed, startled, his fur standing on end. He glanced down and found himself locked in a bewildered gaze with Xiao Tian Dog. You better tell me this isn't real, he exclaimed, gripping Xiao Tian Dog's neck and shaking him vigorously. Why are you grabbing me? Stop it, stop it. Xiao Tian Dog protested, rolling his eyes and foaming at the mouth. Seeing the two smitten with each other, Ji Xian nodded in approval, wholeheartedly endorsing the union. Very well, prepare for the wedding. Choose a date to arrange the ceremony. With Ji Xian's blessing, Ao Tian was overjoyed, transforming into his dragon form and lifting Ao Yu into the sky, frolicking among the clouds. Sun Huowang, embracing Xiao Tian Dog and the husky, lamented, This poor slippery eel is doomed. How can a sacred sovereign contend with a quasi-emperor? His days will likely be fraught with hardship. Xiao Tian Dog nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, a monkey and 2 dogs busied themselves gathering several jars of wine, delving deep into the forest, while Ji Xian returned to the heavenly emperor palace, entrusting the wedding arrangements entirely to the river god. A year later, on the day of Ao Tian's wedding, the entire Dao sect was adorned with lanterns and decorations, the resplendent heavenly emperor palace draped in red silk, radiating joy and festivity. As Sun Huowang and several others busily moved in and out, vociferously attending to a multitude of tasks, The old turtle transformed back into its corporeal form, floating on a small island in the lake, contentedly observing the distant wedding festivities. Alas, the princess's departure was so sudden, yet perhaps it is for the best. With the protection of Daozong, she shall no longer endure the anguish of exile. Reminiscing about the days when she was relentlessly pursued by formidable ancient beings, tears welled in the old turtle's eyes. At long last, such tribulations had come to an end. Suddenly, a golden fishhook flew into its mouth. Huh, what in the world? Before it could react, a tremendous force yanked it toward the riverbank. In the distance, a throng of disciples surrounded the river god. Wow, Master River God is incredible. He has caught such a large turtle. Indeed, if we consume it, our powers will surely increase significantly. Several disciples chattered excitedly, approaching to touch the old turtle's massive form. Saliva dripping from their mouths. The old turtle's expression darkened at once, realizing it had been mistaken for a mere turtle. The river god extended a large hand, grasping it tightly, and observed it with a peculiar gaze, saying, "Ah, a sea dragon turtle of the great sage realm? This species should not inhabit the river. Senior, there has been a misunderstanding. I am merely an old turtle, a retainer of the true dragon princess." The old turtle spoke in human language, attempting to explain. Oh, how disappointing. The river god kicked him back into the water with a swift motion. He then retracted his fishing rod and addressed the surrounding disciples. Disperse, disperse. This deity still has a wedding banquet to attend. We shall resume fishing another time. The disciples from the Bailu Academy, their faces drooping, pleaded, "Oh, Master River God. Just one more time. Yes, just one more time." The river god waved his hand dismissively. "No more fishing. I must fulfill the tasks entrusted to me." "You little rascals, do you even understand what a wedding is? It is of utmost importance." The disciples from Bailu Academy exchanged bewildered glances, their youth rendering them as naive as blank slates, utterly oblivious to such matters. Yet, wherever the river god went, they followed closely behind. On that day, the Taoist priests Bai and He, Wang Lu, Jingjing, and others from the sacred lands arrived one after another, invited to partake in the grand wedding feast. Ao Tian had prepared a lavish dowry, all bestowed by Ji Xian, with a procession of over 10 carriages entering the Taoist sect square, laden with various celestial treasures. Among these were several exquisite imperial weapons, an elixir of immortality, and even a celestial cultivation technique, alongside countless other high-grade treasures. These items, if even one were to be presented, would surely evoke envy in the hearts of ancient emperors. Ao's dowry was equally splendid, featuring a luminous pearl crafted by a celestial being of the dragon clan. This supreme treasure, merely inhaling its fragrant aura, could loosen the cultivation restraints of even a great emperor. That night, a grand banquet was held within the Heavenly Emperor's palace, a red carpet stretching over several miles, leading deep into the imperial abode. The masters and ancestors of the various sacred lands of Xianzhou gathered, toasting and sharing merriment, creating an atmosphere of exuberance throughout the Taoist sect. During this time, Jiang Wei from the Jiang family arrived, claiming to have urgent matters to report to the Xian Emperor concerning the alliance between the Dao sect and the Jiang family. However, before he could meet Ji Xian, he was forcibly pulled aside by Sun Huowang, who proceeded to inundate him with alcohol. After a while, Ao Yu and Ao Tian appeared hand in hand at the entrance of the imperial palace, both adorned in resplendent red wedding attire, making their way into the depths of the palace. Ji Xian sat high above, a broad smile illuminating his face as he gazed upon the couple. After a simple homage to heaven and earth, the bride and groom moved from table to table, offering toasts to the esteemed guests. Even those far away at the Bailu Academy, including Horling Air and others, sent their blessings to Ao Tian through a recording stone. Sun Huowang, thoroughly intoxicated, held a wine jar in one hand and the howling sky dog in the other, quenching his thirst by pouring liquor into his own mouth, and then forcefully into the dog's mouth. Amidst the revelry, Ji Xian departed from the Heavenly Emperor's palace, finding solace atop an ancient tree halfway up Jinyan Mountain. Under the cloak of night, he leaned against the trunk, surveying the picturesque nighttime scenery below. Beside him, 2 white jade qilins lay peacefully, snoring softly in slumber. Apart from the Dao sect, the entirety of Xianzhou was abuzz, illuminated with lights, and filled with joyous festivities. Ji Xian tilted his head, gazing at the moon resembling a white jade plate on the horizon, lost in myriad thoughts. Ao Tian was someone he had raised himself, akin to a son. When they first met, Ao Tian was merely a young dragon seeking alms from him. Now, after 2,000 years, that young dragon had wed and found a companion. A wave of nostalgia washed over Ji Xian as memories of his past interactions with Ao Tian flooded his mind, prompting a deep sigh. It had only been 2,000 years, yet so much had transpired. What would the future hold in another 20,000, 200,000, or even 2 million years? Yet, amidst such reflections, there was an overwhelming sense of hope. He eagerly anticipated the day his disciples would mature and stand independently. Oh, and that lad from the Jiang family, Jiang Wei, seemed to have come seeking him for something. With that thought, Ji Xian waved his hand, tearing through the void to grasp Jiang Wei and draw him forth. Chapter 285. Night, task of apprenticeship refreshes within the Heavenly Emperor's palace. The atmosphere was alive with song and dance, with ministers inebriated. Sun Huowang embraced Jiang Wei, sharing drinks in a drunken stupor, both lost in a world of fantasies. Jiang Wei, tall and with red hair cascading over his shoulders, was now disheveled, drunkenly slumped beside a pillar. Come on, buddy, drink. Sun Huowang, in a daze, somehow procured a jug of hot water, mistaking it for wine, and was about to pour it into Jiang Wei's mouth. Delicious. Jiang Wei lifted his head, opening his mouth wide in anticipation of the liquid descending from above. Suddenly, a rift tore through the void, and a large hand seized Jiang Wei by the collar, pulling him into the abyss. Subsequently, the jug of hot water in Sun Huowang's hand was entirely doused over the now unconscious Howling Sky Dog beside him. What the hell? Who bit my behind? Feeling a sharp pain, the Howling Sky Dog awoke abruptly, its drunkenness dissipating instantly. So it's you, seeking death. Realizing the truth, the Howling Sky Dog opened its mouth wide and lunged towards Sun Huowang's groin. On the other side, Jiang Wei stumbled forth from a fissure in the void, landing upon a robust branch. A chilling breeze swept past, rousing his hazy consciousness. Why is it so cold? He thought, instinctively curling up and reaching out, his hand grasping a furry object that materialized in his palm, which he promptly pulled closer, enveloping himself in its warmth. Oh, how delightful. Moments later, the frenzied twitching of his right eyelid jolted him from his slumber. Yet, he paid little heed to this disruption, for the plush blanket was simply too comfortable. In a daze, he lifted his eyelids, and to his astonishment, he beheld a figure seated a few yards away. Clad in pristine white, untainted by dust, illuminated by the moonlight, ethereal and otherworldly. He was dreaming of the Xuandi. Surely, this foretells auspicious opportunities ahead, he mused. Suddenly, a thought flickered through his mind. His purpose for coming here was not merely to indulge and drink. Oh no, I've wasted time. The ancestor of Zhenyang sent me to seek the Xuandi for reinforcements. Startled, he sprang to his feet, surveying his surroundings, only to find Ji Xian smiling at him from a distance. Draped across his form was the tail of a snow-white qilin. Realizing his indiscretion, he hastily composed himself, adjusting his hair and attire before kneeling in reverence. I, Jiang Wei, pay my respects to Xuandi. Rise, Ji Xian gestured. It is a day of great joy for Outyin, and I prefer not to dwell on trifles. What brings you here? Noticing Ji Xian's lack of reproach, Jiang Wei responded. The ancestor requests Xuandi to reinforce the divine ancient fortress and the border defenses. Within the 9 heavens and 10 earths, the ancient clan has emerged, stirring tumultuous winds. While outside, foreign ancient tribes are invading rampantly, putting the border at peril. Upon hearing this, Ji Xian waved his hand, summoning 100 silver-armored knights of the quasi-emperor rank before him. He instructed Jiang Wei, utilize these quasi-emperor knights, and gather more personnel from the Holy Lands below to form an allied army. Jiang Wei stood in astonishment at the impeccable array of quasi-emperor knights before him. A full 100. The entirety of the Jiang clan's quasi-emperors numbered scarcely 90, representing their core strength and formidable foundation. Yet, Ji Xian effortlessly dispatched an army from an archaic lineage. The growth rate of the Dao sect surpassed his wildest imaginings. The decision made by the ancestor of Zhenyang to forge an alliance was indeed wise. After a brief moment of hesitation, he responded, stammering, "Thank you immensely, Xuandi. Very well. If there is nothing further, you may withdraw. The night is beautiful. I wish to enjoy some solitude." Jiang Wei nodded in acquiescence, gathering the knights into the military disc bestowed by Ji Xian, and retreated, vanishing from sight. Alone, Ji Xian embraced the moonlight, indulging in solitary libations. For it had been an eternity since he had enjoyed such solitude. The night breeze was refreshing, carrying the remnants of the evening's glow, sweeping over the mountains, gliding across rivers, passing through forests, and caressing flowers and grass, finally reaching Ji Xian. He reached out, grasping a wisp of the gentle wind, pouring it over the gourd of wine in his hand, and drank deeply. The night at Jinyan Mountain was tranquil and beautiful. With a chirp, the vibrant 5-colored sparrow, drawn by Ji Xian's scent, fluttered to his shoulder. After a playful flurry, it succumbed to slumber. Ji Xian rose, standing solitary atop the tree, which, while referred to as a treetop, was comparable to a mountain cliff, for the trunk beneath him was remarkably sturdy. He gazed upon the myriad lights flickering below, envisioning the path he intended to tread. The mortal realm, a term shunned by all cultivators, was one he resolved to delve into. After obtaining the celestial root, he sensed that the great truths of the world were concealed within it. Yet most cultivators were preoccupied with slaughter and cultivation, thus missing this most exquisite vista. With a leap, Ji Xian descended toward the small town below. In the night, the vendors remained awake, tirelessly tending to their stalls. The streets were bustling, teeming with people eager to seize this lucrative opportunity. As he strolled around a corner, his white garments shimmered golden in the glow of lanterns. Despite the throngs of humanity, none could perceive his presence. A sudden jolt woke the 5-colored sparrow from its reverie, as it caught a whiff of a pungent fragrance. Twisting its neck, it urged Ji Xian to glance in a particular direction. There, he spotted a stall selling a fruit reminiscent of strawberries. Understanding the sparrow's indication, Ji Xian, with a playful stroke on its beak, approached the stall and purchased several clusters of the strawberry-like spirit fruit, presenting them to the delighted sparrow. With joyful chirps, the five-colored sparrow flapped its wings, hopping excitedly upon Ji Xian's shoulder. After acquiring the spirit fruits, Ji Xian vanished into the night. The fruit vendor, watching his retreating figure, felt an odd sense of familiarity, though the identity eluded him. Having traversed the bustling market, Ji Xian ascended the city gate tower, overlooking the throng below. His heart awash with myriad emotions. In the deep of night, a message from the Valkyrie reached him. Master, the conflict between the Reincarnation Sanctuary and the Northern Dipper forces has yielded a resolution. Speak, Ji Xian commanded. The Northern Dipper has achieved a resounding victory. The Lord of the Reincarnation and his brother, the two great emperors, fell to the siege of the other emperors and perished in the wilderness. All territories of the Reincarnation Sanctuary have been devoured, leading to its demise, the Valkyrie informed him. Understood. Return here for now. The Heavenly Sword Pavilion requires guardianship. Ji Xian replied. Yes. Suddenly, the system's notification chimed. Disciple recruitment task refreshed. Location, Northern Dipper. As dawn broke, Ji Xian set forth, leaving the intoxicated masters and ancestors of the Heavenly Emperor Palace, who lay sprawled in slumber. He chose not to bring along Sun Huang and the others, embarking solo. Accompanied only by the five-colored sparrow. In the vast expanse of heaven and earth, there exist 19 grand domains, each encompassing its own microcosm. The 3,000 states of Xianzhou constitute one such domain. In contrast, the Northern Dipper, existing as a celestial entity, is another domain. The 10 layers of the earth stand parallel to one another, while the 9 heavens are arranged vertically, each layer ascending higher than the last. Legends tell of a 10th heaven above the 9th, a realm of immortals. Ji Xian embarked on his journey alone, eschewing carriages or monstrous steeds, and instead traversed the desolate expanse of this land on foot. The Taichu Forbidden Zone bore the scars of prolonged conflict, its periphery transformed into a wasteland of charred earth. Once magnificent mountain ranges had their peaks sheared off by the ravages of war, crumbling into mere mounds of earth. The once rushing rivers had run dry, exposing parched riverbeds. Flora and fauna had vanished entirely, leaving no trace of life, while the sky was shrouded in a pall of black smoke, rendering this place a realm of despair. Yet, at the horizon's edge, a sinister mountain loomed, emanating a palpable aura of malevolence, untouched by destruction. A golden dragon's sword was embedded in its summit, pinning a desiccated head to the rock. Nearly 2 millennia prior, Ji Xian had slain Ji Wuwang here, driving the fragmented Xianyuan's sword through his skull, proclaiming his supremacy to the world. Now, 2,000 years later, none had been able to dislodge that sword. The indomitable sword intent left behind by Ji Xian could suppress all, unshakable even by the mightiest of beings, including immortals. On the mountainside, the crimson wound in Ji Wuwang's forehead still bled divine blood. The emperor's physical form possessed a vitality so robust that even in death, his blood would not congeal or cease to flow for a considerable time. One day, I shall reclaim the missing fragment of this sword, Ji Xian mused. The Xianyuan sword, a revered artifact of the celestial court, held extraordinary significance not only for myriad races but for the entirety of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Who are you? This place is not for the likes of you. Leave at once. A sharp voice rang out from the distance. Ji Xian turned to see a patrolling cultivator nearby, adorned in the battle attire of the Ji clan. The youth appeared no older than 17 or 18, his cultivation at the Sacred King realm. At that moment, he regarded Ji Xian with trepidation, his hand gripping his sword trembling involuntarily, clearly intimidated by the figure before him. May I inquire your name? Ji Xian inquired with a gentle smile, refraining from violence, sensing the youth bore him no malice, merely wishing for him to depart quickly to avoid calamity. I am Ji Qingxian, a cultivator of the Sacred King realm, the young man stammered, unable to discern the visage of the man before him, his heart gripped by fear. Oh, this is rather intriguing, Ji Xian mused with a subtle smile. The young man's name bore the character Xian, and their encounter in this desolate forbidden zone seemed to weave a thread of fate between them. Contemplating this, he casually picked up a charred branch from the ground, infused it with a strand of sword intent, and tossed it to Ji Qingxian. We are destined to meet. Take this and contemplate its essence. Ji Xian spoke cryptically, his form growing increasingly ethereal amidst the mist. Ji Qingxian grasped the charred branch, instantly sensing a formidable sword intent brewing within, far surpassing the imperial might of his ancestral kin. This is truly a monumental fortune. His heart was filled with exhilaration as he patrolled the war zone, long overshadowed by the specter of death, yet unexpectedly, he found a glimmer of hope and a fortuitous opportunity. May I be so bold as to inquire your esteemed name, senior? Ji Qingxian asked, clutching a withered branch. Directing his question towards the figure shrouded in mist. Xianzhou, Ji Xian, came the ethereal voice, and in an instant, Ji Xian transformed into a wisp of azure smoke, vanishing from sight. Upon hearing these words, Ji Qingxian felt as though struck by lightning. The precious withered branch slipped from his grasp and fell to the ground, leaving him in a state of profound unrest. A month later, Ji Xian departed from the 3,000 states, soaring into the azure skies. He traversed the void for several years before discovering the entrance to the nine heavens universe. It must be noted, this was an exceedingly vast distance. Even as a supreme being of the great Tao, it took him a considerable time to traverse it. No wonder, when the Lord of the Heavens, Di Shitian, had stated that returning to the great Brahma heaven would require over 200 years, in retrospect, that was indeed no exaggeration. During these years, Ji Xian had paused on many ancient stars. Aside from the 9 heavens and 10 earths, these ancient celestial bodies were inhabited by beings, albeit with generally low cultivation, most residing within the mortal realm. In the 9 layers of heaven, the Northern Dipper heaven constituted the second layer. To reach his position, one must first pass through the first layer, the Yuanming heaven. The Reincarnation Holy Palace is situated within Yuanming heaven, a superlative force that has persisted since the archaic era, rich in history. Yet, not even the most venerable forces can withstand the ravages of time and the vicissitudes of humanity. Even emperors face the day of their demise, whether through battle or the passage of age. Following the fall of the Reincarnation Emperor, the power of the Holy Palace inevitably crumbled. Ji Xian decided to first visit the Reincarnation Holy Palace in Yuanming heaven, seeking traces left by the passage of time. This was an expanse of great magnitude, with sacred mountains stretching endlessly, where grand sects and teachings resided amidst the clouds, each claiming their territory and vying for supremacy. Cataclysms unfolded here, and as Ji Xian journeyed, he witnessed the life and death struggles of numerous cultivators, along with countless mortals, akin to small beings, mercilessly obliterated. Yet, he merely passed through hastily, paying little heed. Occasionally, those who sought to rob him of his treasures were swiftly extinguished with a mere gesture from him. The little creature, the 5-colored sparrow, would become fiercely protective whenever Ji Xian encountered supposed danger, soaring into action to defend him. In such moments, Ji Xian could only laugh helplessly, as this little bird seemed sent by the heavens to heal him. Its demeanor was so earnest yet comical, as if Ji Xian were its charge. Perhaps in its eyes, it knew not what an emperor was. The white-clad man accompanying it was simply an ordinary, easily bullied commoner. Ji Xian cherished their companionship, often foraging wild fruits and gathering mountain spring water for it. As he journeyed, Ji Xian felt less like he was out to take disciples and more as if he were reveling in the human experience. After a year or two, he eventually arrived at the location of the Reincarnation Holy Palace. As he surveyed the landscape, he beheld the crumbling ruins atop the lofty mountains. Chapter 287. The Path of the Sovereign and the Reincarnation Emperor seal. The Reincarnation Holy Palace stands as the foremost authority governing the path of time in Yuanming heaven. This ancient lineage, traceable to the primordial epochs, has witnessed emperors attaining enlightenment in every generation, and has even produced immortals who, with their singular might, could subdue the grand sects of the Yuanming heaven. Yet now, it lies in ruins, decimated by the coalition of the celestial realms of the Northern Dipper. Reduced to mere remnants of its former glory, Ji Xian ascended the fractured celestial threshold, traversing numerous mountain ranges with each stride, until he arrived at the ruins of the Reincarnation Sacred Hall. In the vast expanse of the sky, a colossal phantom of a clock manifested, its hands shifting with each revolution, altering the temporal fabric of this realm. Was this eternal place meant to preserve something? Ji Xian murmured. This clock's apparition was undoubtedly a means left by the Reincarnation Emperor, rendering the flow of time in this region stagnant, ensnared in a state of eternity. While the cycles of day and night continued beyond, this land would remain forever frozen at the moment the clock was set into motion. The ruins of the sacred hall buzzed with activity, as various cultivators flocked to this site, scavenging the remnants of divine treasures. Each eternal grade force had its own profound heritage, unfathomable to the average mid-tier sections. Even though the Reincarnation Sacred Hall had perished and been stripped bare by the Northern Dipper forces, numerous treasures remained buried beneath the debris, igniting a fervor among the treasure-seeking cultivators. I have unearthed a major sacred weapon, just a hint away from transforming into a quasi-emperor weapon. Ha ha ha, exclaimed a gray-clad cultivator, clutching a precious staff, laughter spilling forth in madness. To him, this major sacred weapon was an invaluable artifact, possessing immeasurable worth. But at that moment, a sharp sword light sliced through the air, severing his head from his shoulders, the scorching holy blood spraying high into the air, staining the verdant ground crimson. With a thud, as the head fell, a golden-armored Saint King emerged from the shadows, swiftly seizing the weapon. The gray-clad cultivator, having barely warmed his grasp on the artifact, lost both his possession and his life. Such occurrences were not isolated. Amidst the treasure hunt, the cultivators in the ruins appeared to collaborate, yet they vigilantly monitored one another. Brewing with hidden malice and caution, Ji Xian strolled through the throng, scaling small hills, treading over the bloodied earth, and made his way towards the interior of the Reincarnation Sacred Hall. Along the way, he was pursued by a petty rogue with designs on him, only to be swiftly dispatched by the 5-colored sparrow, a small creature resembling a gem, yet possessing the strength of a saint. As a cacophony erupted, a bald monk entered Ji Xian's view. Clad in brown robes, the monk bore an exquisite countenance, almost otherworldly, possessing a beauty that could incite envy in women. What drew Ji Xian's attention further were the two deep crimson marks adorning the monk's brow. Brahma? He mused, momentarily taken aback. For the monk resembled the one he had bid farewell to over 2 millennia ago. Perhaps sensing Ji Xian's penetrating gaze, the monk turned to face him, palms together, and said, I am Shi Tian, a humble monk. May I inquire what wisdom you seek? I have seen you before, Ji Xian replied. Shi Tian paused momentarily, as if his mind were processing some information, then smiled gently. Perhaps you have mistaken me, good sir. That individual may not be me. After a brief contemplation, Ji Xian nodded in agreement. Perhaps you are right. The ancient monk, Moro, had once mentioned that Shi Tian, the old monk, possessed numerous incarnations wandering the mortal realm to repay karmic debts. This Shi Tian's cultivation had reached the realm of quasi-emperorship, far surpassing that of the individual who had once descended to the lower realms. He was undoubtedly one of many incarnations. However, Ji Xian was eager to ascertain the connection between himself and Shi Tian. When he underwent the tribulation of sanctity, the memory of Shi Tian intervening in the rivers of time to thwart the dark hand lingered vividly in his mind. Their relationship might indeed run deeper than he had anticipated. Farewell, esteemed sir, I must take my leave. Perhaps we shall meet again by fate, he said, securing the precious bell unearthed from the ruins to his person. With a slight bow to Ji Xian, he hurriedly departed. Ji Xian refrained from detaining him for further inquiries, understanding that the memories of this incarnation were limited. He may genuinely not recognize him. Buzz. From the distance, an unusual sound emanated from the ruins, a ghostly blue light piercing forth from a particular loft. Instantly, the rules of time flowed past Ji Xian's ears like a gentle stream, followed by a subtle tremor of the great bell in the sky. Ji Xian discerned that the reincarnation emperor had left him something. He took a gentle step forward, his toes emitting a sharp sword light that pierced through several mountains, cleaving the accumulated debris before him and paving an unobstructed path. At the end of the path stood a small loft, its walls dull and battered, ravaged by arcane forces, leaving only 2 lonely walls standing. The second floor was scarcely intact, with a few precariously placed bricks, upon which rested a dilapidated wooden table. Seemingly on the verge of collapse, Ji Xian stood at a distance, extending his hand to grasp the table, pulling it closer. Within the drawer, he discovered an envelope. The envelope struck him as familiar, reminiscent of the one Ao Tian had given him. With this thought, he retrieved that very envelope from his storage space. However, in that instant, an anomaly occurred. The surface of the envelope in the drawer began to fade rapidly, gradually turning yellowed. It appeared as though it had endured the ravages of countless years, decaying at a visible pace, until, ultimately, it was reduced to a pile of ashes. What remained was only a ghostly blue seal. Rumble. At this moment, the great bell above began to tremble violently, the jarring sound of gears grinding echoed. Billions of threads of temporal rules cascaded forth, illuminating the heavens like celestial rays, startling the cultivators in search of treasures. A supreme treasure was emerging. This commotion was likely comparable to that of an imperial weapon. All cultivators turned their gazes toward the dilapidated loft, their eyes shimmering with excitement. Crash! The noise intensified, as if a tremendous explosion had erupted beneath the bell. Streams of temporal rules cascaded down, rushing toward Ji Xian. The golden envelope in his hand soared upward autonomously, merging with the ghostly blue seal, coalescing into a small golden decree that landed in Ji Xian's grasp, emanating a powerful aura of temporal rules. Ji Xian discerned that the envelope within the drawer and the one he possessed were crafted at the same time and placed by the same individual. However, the envelope he held was delivered ahead of time through the machinations of the reincarnation emperor. The existence of 2 identical items within the same temporal realm defied the laws of time, leading to the inevitable destruction of one. The great clock in the heavens had frozen time to preserve the envelope in the drawer, which would only self-destruct once Ji Xian arrived, merging into a golden insignia. System. What is this? Ji Xian inquired, gazing at the golden insignia resting in his palm. Reply to the host. This is the Reincarnation Imperial Seal, utilized to assist the Reincarnation Sacred Body in traversing the tribulations of reincarnation. In that instant, Ji Xian recalled the scene where the Reincarnation Emperor entrusted him with a charge by the River of Time. It appeared intended for Tianyu at that time. Thus he resolved to seek him out in the Northern Dipper. With formidable spiritual awareness, he scanned the surroundings, finding little of note aside from the insignia in his hand. Yet, just as Ji Xian prepared to depart, a group of cultivators armed with weapons emerged, encircling him from the high walls and ruins surrounding the area. Chapter 288. The scheme of the Northern Dipper's sacred land in the loft. Ji Xian found himself besieged by various cultivators. Their attires varied widely, from battle garb reminiscent of grand sects to the coarse clothing of mountain bandits and villagers, indicating they were not a unified faction, yet they shared a common goal. The weapons they wielded buzzed ominously, exuding a palpable aura of hostility, perpetually ready for combat. The five-colored sparrow instantly became agitated, emitting a fierce cry. Its tiny eyes bulging like brass bells, as if ready to charge and vanquish the assembly. Ji Xian gently patted its little head, assuring it not to worry. My esteemed guest, you have acquired the treasured artifact that caused the disturbance here, have you not? An elder at the quasi-emperor realm stepped forward, attempting to adopt a cordial tone. The others observed Ji Xian with predatory gazes. This man, unarmed and solitary, had ventured into their midst, seemingly courting danger. An instinct told them he was a prime target. Ji Xian cast a glance at the brigand, and then surveyed the crowd. Noting that over half were cultivators aligned with the Northern Dipper, including the quasi-emperor elder, he smiled and remarked, "What of the others? Are there no parting words to be spoken? I possess a heart of compassion." Upon hearing this, the cultivators exchanged glances, then burst into raucous laughter. Ha ha, does he presume to be an emperor? Even surrounded, he dares to speak so boldly? How could it be? The reincarnation temple has been thoroughly plundered. Which emperor would venture here without cause? Such a jest is overly audacious. When an emperor travels, they are always accompanied by quasi-emperor level individuals to attend to their chariot and palace. Hey, mind your words. A quasi-emperor from the Northern Dipper has arrived. Do not let him overhear. The wrath of a quasi-emperor is not something we can withstand. Some mocked, others whispered quietly, and a few cautioned in hushed tones. The elder of the Northern Dipper furrowed his brow. With the destruction of the reincarnation holy palace, the various forces of the Yuanming heaven dared not show themselves. Where had this individual emerged from? Judging by his demeanor, he did not appear to be an insignificant rogue or bandit. Your words seem rather harsh, the elder declared solemnly. The reincarnation holy palace has just been annihilated. If you are indeed a practitioner of the Yuanming heaven, you should be aware of the formidable might of our Northern Dipper. A faint imperial aura emanated from him. Though it was not fully realized, it still managed to silence the surrounding crowd, halting their derisive laughter. Ji Xuan adopted a nonchalant demeanor and replied, "What does it matter whether it is harsh or not? You may consider this the conclusion of your final words. Let us proceed." With that, a powerful surge of blood energy erupted skyward, expanding outward like a tidal wave. The surrounding mountains rumbled ominously, and the great bell in the heavens shattered with a thunderous roar, plummeting amidst a thick cloud of smoke. The bewildered practitioners had yet to comprehend the situation when they were reduced to a mist of blood. Only the elder remained, his face etched with terror as he gazed at the descending bell before shifting his attention to the man approaching him. Heaven help us. Merely the release of his aura has shattered the time-stopping formation enveloping this place. The elder began to grasp the extent of the white-clad man's power. This was genuine imperial might, beyond the realm of his own quasi-imperial stature. "Why do you spare my life?" the elder stammered, realizing he could not withstand such oppressive force. Ji Xuan did not respond, but stepped closer, swiftly placing his claw upon the elder's skull to initiate a soul search. "You cannot," the elder yelled, flailing his limbs in a desperate struggle, yet ultimately succumbed to unconsciousness amidst excruciating pain. Information streamed into Ji Xuan's mind like a torrent through his fingertips. The Northern Dipper's 7 eternal holy sites, Tianxian, Tianzhu, Tianji, Tianquan, Yuheng, Kaiyang, and Yaoguang. The elder before him was a senior elder of the Tianxian holy site. The sole purpose of the Northern Dipper's war against the Reincarnation Holy Palace was to locate the Reincarnation Holy Body for their grand scheme. They sought to summon the residual soul of their founding ancestor, the Northern Dipper Star Lord, from the celestial realm and implant it within the Reincarnation Holy Body to facilitate a form of resurrection for the ancient celestial being. During the course of the conflict, the Reincarnation Holy Body was hidden away by the Reincarnation Emperor through some means, leading to considerable difficulty for the holy sites in their search. The ritual to resurrect the Northern Dipper Star Lord was imminent, causing the holy sites to lose patience and mobilize nearly 7 emperors to jointly hunt down the Reincarnation Emperor. Ultimately, on a stormy night, the Reincarnation Emperor perished on a desolate expanse beyond the realm, his divine blood spilling across 1,000,000 miles, departing in bitterness. Naturally, the heavens could not escape the combined pursuit of the 7 emperors and were soon captured. He is now imprisoned within the Tianxian holy site, awaiting the commencement of the ritual. Indeed, as I had surmised, many powerful factions seek to resurrect their own celestial beings, Ji Xuan thought to himself. Earlier, he had already begun to suspect this underlying truth. In his view, the sanctuaries of the Northern Dipper acted primarily to withstand the impending chaos. However, Ji Xian was unconcerned with such matters. The emergence of his disciple necessitated his protection. Regardless of the Northern Dipper's sacred sites or the Northern Dipper Star Lord, he would eradicate them all without hesitation. With an indomitable spirit, he could effortlessly quell a myriad of foes with a mere flick of his fingers. With a swift motion, he obliterated the head of the quasi-emperor elder, leaving behind a headless corpse. The 5-colored sparrow perched upon his shoulder, witnessing the scene, hastily burrowed into the collar of Ji Xian's garment. At this moment, it became evident that it was the sparrow that required safeguarding. Ji Xian turned, setting up numerous grand formations to temporarily envelop the region surrounding the Reincarnation Sacred Hall. This power would undoubtedly be rebuilt in the future. Moreover, He harbored ambitions of claiming the realm of Yuan Mingshan. Its unique position as the first of the 9 heavens made it a strategic stronghold. If conquered, it would effectively trap the other 8 heavens within. Beloved disciple, your master has come to rescue you. A wisp of azure smoke drifted by, and Ji Xian's figure vanished from sight. He stood upon the golden Taiji circle, propelling himself toward the northern dipper with astonishing speed. A month later, Ji Xian departed from that realm. In the depths of the cosmos, 7 radiant star clusters shimmered, casting their celestial brilliance outward. To be precise, they were 7 immense galaxies. The 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, renowned since antiquity, spanned the horizon, steeped in countless legends. Yet, who could have anticipated that they were not merely 7 stars? Concurrently, the Tianxian sacred land of the Northern Dipper bustled with jubilance, engaged in the revival of immortals. Little did they know, a colossal calamity was about to descend, stirring a tempest in their midst. Chapter 289. Tianxian sacred land in the Northern Dipper. Tianxian, within a dimly lit cell, iron chains crisscrossed, glinting coldly as they bound Shi Tianyu, suspended from the ceiling. The chilling chains were sharp and rusted, etching crimson marks upon his body, some even piercing his flesh, grinding against his bones with a chilling crackle. Yet, Shi Tianyu paid no heed to such pain. His mind was consumed by visions of his father's demise. On the distant plateau, his father, the Reincarnation Emperor, had fought valiantly against 7 other emperors to protect him, ultimately succumbing to the cosmos. Father, I'm so sorry. Father. His anguished cries reverberated through the silence of the cell. Scalding tears streamed down his face, splattering onto the cold, damp floor with a hissing sound. He believed that it was his very constitution that had led to the death of both his father and another emperor of the Reincarnation Sacred Hall. How much better it would have been had he not possessed such a trait. What is all this racket? Why aren't you sleeping at this late hour? An impatient voice echoed from outside, rousing the guard who had fallen asleep. Shadows appeared against the illuminated wall, and with a creak, the cell door swung open. The lead guard, a portly figure, shone a flint light upon the chained individual, and, finding no abnormalities, prepared to lock the door and return to his slumber. You wretched beasts. Should I manage to escape, I shall ensure that none of you remain unscathed. Shi Tianyu bellowed. Oh, are you still not done? The rotund jailer spat, slamming the iron door against the wall with a resounding clang. He advanced and delivered 2 resounding slaps to Shi Tianyu's face. Go ahead, strike me again. If it weren't for the ceiling of my powers, a mere breath from me could annihilate 100 of your kind. Shi Tianyu retorted fiercely, still pretending. Do you truly believe I cannot deal with you? The corpulent jailer yanked a lever nearby, and with a cacophonous clatter, the chains binding Shi Tianyu tightened further. A piercing scream escaped his lips as the chains constricted, inscribed with formations meant to suppress his abilities and laced with toxic substances, designed to erode Shi Tianyu's will, facilitating future possession. He coughed up a mouthful of black blood, his complexion growing increasingly pallid. Yet, he refused to yield, conjuring a bloody phlegm and spitting it directly onto the jailer's face. You insolent wretch, is it never ending? The enraged jailer drew an iron rod from his waist, ready to strike. However, the slender jailer nearby quickly intervened. Hey, do you truly lack sense? This lad is destined to become the vessel of the Northern Dipper Immortal. Do not ruin him. The rotund jailer chuckled in response. No worries. The esteemed Tianxing has instructed me to be as harsh as necessary. If this boy's will falters, the summoning of the Northern Dipper Immortal will proceed without impediment. With that, he turned his attention back to Shi Tianyu. Humph. Do you truly believe you can trifle with my reincarnation sacred body? Shi Tianyu roared, unleashing a strange temporal power that sent the jailers before him flying, crashing heavily against the frigid prison walls. Although this power was considerably diminished, it still inflicted grave injuries upon the jailers. The rotund jailer staggered to his feet, as if his essence had been drawn from him, cursing under his breath. Damn it, the power of time is truly terrifying. I've lost centuries of my lifespan in an instant. Was he truly so formidable, even with his powers suppressed? The other jailers fared little better. Those of lower cultivation fainted outright. Ha! A bunch of useless fools, what can you do to me? Shi Tianyu laughed heartily. Humph, let us depart. The rotund jailer, realizing he was powerless against Shi Tianyu, gritted his teeth and led his companions away. Soon, the cell fell silent once more. Shi Tianyu closed his eyes slightly, deep in contemplation. He was imprisoned within a cell marked with imperial formations, and even an emperor could not rescue him in a short time. Moreover, several imperial beings stood guard over Tianxian. In terms of escape, it was virtually impossible. Sighing, he resigned himself to fate. He recalled his father's dying words, "Do not abandon hope for life. A peerless powerhouse will protect you." But where was that unparalleled being? Hope, alas, existed merely as hope. In the blink of an eye, over 10 days had passed, and the summoning ceremony was officially set to take place at the sacred land of Tianxian, in the vast expanse of the celestial realm, where countless stars shimmer. A congregation of formidable beings gathered upon an ancient colossal star. Today, the holy land of Tianxian, one of the 7 great heads of the Big Dipper, was to host a ceremonial invocation of the divine. The gathered cultivators eagerly anticipated the return of the Lord of the Big Dipper to the realms of heaven and earth. He was the only immortal who had once emerged from the Big Dipper, believed to have been capable of contending with the reincarnation immortal during his zenith. On this day, all prominent figures from the Big Dipper were present, alongside the leaders of the 7 holy lands and the powerful from various lesser factions, including ancient races residing on different colossal stars. Suddenly, the void was rent asunder, revealing a vast crevice from which a silver ancient python soared forth. This creature, an ancient sovereign, harnessed the power of celestial bodies to attain enlightenment, with each scale of its serpentine form as sizable as the stars themselves. Surrounded by the flowing Milky Way, resembling mere droplets of water. Instantaneously, a massive shadow enveloped the holy land of Tianxian, plunging it into an abyss of profound darkness. The cultivators below gazed upward, and after careful observation, they discerned the source of the shadow, an unimaginably colossal serpent sovereign. Heavens! It is the Galactic Emperor Python. He has indeed arrived. The ancient figure of the Galactic Emperor, having attained the status of a great emperor, chose not to transform into a dragon. Indeed, he believes that the serpent race can rival the dragon race, harboring the confidence to evolve into a primordial being. What audacity! Murmured the crowd below. Do you think the Galactic Emperor Python could possibly evolve into a primordial saint? Someone suddenly interjected. Impossible. A primordial saint is a being of a higher echelon than a primordial entity, transcending the realms of existence. Legends tell that only immortals can achieve such a feat. Despite the strength of the Galactic Emperor Python, the notion of ascension to immortality is far-fetched. An elder from Tianxian remarked. The others nodded in agreement, acknowledging that the existence of a primordial saint remained a matter of speculation, not to be taken literally. On a lofty mountain, a warrior wielding a silver spear stood resolute. Galactic Ancient Sovereign, you have arrived. The enormous serpentine eyes of the Galactic Emperor Python descended, eventually resting upon the figure atop the peak. Oh, it is the Celestial Star General of Tianxian. You have attained the status of an emperor, truly remarkable. Are you perhaps waiting for someone? The great serpent opened its vast maw, and with merely a few words, shattered countless stars into oblivion. The Celestial Star General replied, the one I await is drawing near. I must vanquish him. Chapter 290. The Rescue Mission High Above. The Galactic Ancient Sovereign chuckled. You, my friend, truly harbor a grudge. Even after achieving the status of an emperor, you remain so fixated on that insignificant foe? The Celestial Star General responded, in our youth, we were the foremost prodigies of our generation. However, he mastered the supreme imperial scripture of the Reincarnation Palace, making him an unpredictable force. Ultimately, I fell to his techniques. Yet, I was the first to attain emperorhood. What a twist of fate. Today, our Tianxian shall welcome the Lord of the Big Dipper in the guise of his brother's body. He will undoubtedly come to thwart us. If I do not defeat him, my invincible spirit shall remain unrefined. As he spoke, the Celestial Star General tightened his grip on the silver spear, exuding a chilling aura of murderous intent. The target of his words was none other than Shi Tianyu's elder brother, Shi Tianming, one of the quasi-emperors of the Reincarnation Palace, and one of the few survivors of that formidable faction. Both are the paragons of their era, evenly matched. The Celestial Star General will surely seek to eliminate his old adversary first, as he aims to ascend to the throne of the Emperor. Now, as the divine summoning ceremony commences, the reincarnated holy body is to be sacrificed to the Lord of the Northern Dipper. Time Tianming, as the elder brother of the holy body, despite facing death, would dare to take risks to rescue him. At that moment, the ancient emperor of the galaxy spoke nonchalantly. As for you, do as you please. I, the Emperor of Tianxian, have been invited as a guest to witness the return of the immortal of the Northern Dipper. He is a supreme being, an entity before whom even the Emperor of Tianxian must yield, and thus has little interest in the conflicts of the younger generation like the Celestial Star General. A flash of silver light pierced the air, and the colossal serpent form vanished in an instant. Stars twinkled, the galaxy hung upside down, and a figure emerged. The ancient emperor of the galaxy transformed into human form, with silver hair and robe, handsome countenance, and walked towards the depths of the Tianxian sacred land. On the ancient star of Tianxian, a throng of people gathered, renowned figures converging from all directions. In the plaza, a massive divine pillar soared, engraved with intricate divine patterns, emanating a terrifying aura. Time Tianyu was bound atop the pillar, donned in clean, simple garments, sitting disheveled. Above his head, a banner-like imperial weapon floated, meant to suppress the tribulation of the holy body's reincarnation and to protect the remnants of the immortal's soul. On both sides of the seating area, a cacophony erupted as people discussed the revival of the immortal of the Northern Dipper, continuously shouting and cheering for the divine platform. Sacrifice this holy body, lad. Let the immortal of the Northern Dipper descend. The holy body, though precious and possessing the demeanor of an immortal, cannot compare to a living immortal. Let the immortal of the Northern Dipper descend. Time Tianyu retained a sliver of consciousness, lifting his heavy head to survey the surroundings. You Northern Dipper wretches can only boast after my father has perished, had it not been for the alliance of the 7 great sacred lands. How could we have been defeated? If, suddenly, he sensed a familiar aura and turned his gaze towards a certain direction. Among the bustling crowd, a man clad in blue sat, equally focused on him. Brother, Time Tianyu exclaimed in shock. The man in blue was indeed his elder brother, Time Tianming. Though he concealed his true form and suppressed his aura, their brotherly bond transcended, allowing Time Tianyu to sense him. Shoo, Time Tianming gestured for silence, indicating he should not act recklessly. Brother, you should not have come. Time Tianyu sighed inwardly. There were not just one, but several emperors stationed here. Although his brother possessed unparalleled talent, what could a quasi-emperor stir up? Below, Time Tianming sat cross-legged, contemplating the rescue plan. At that moment, an old farmer approached along the aisle, secretly relaying a message to Time Tianming. Lord Imperial Son, everything is prepared, but can we truly succeed? Time Tianming replied. With my father's contingency plan in place, they should not have discovered us yet. As the divine summoning begins, we shall proceed as planned. No matter the cost, we cannot allow the Lord of the Northern Dipper to descend. Even if it means death, we must fight. The old farmer responded resolutely. We shall follow Lord Imperial Son, ready to face any peril for the sacred temple. Observing the aged farmer, Shi Tianming felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness. The sacred hall of reincarnation had been thoroughly ravaged, leaving only a handful of reclusive masters. They too had come, driven by a fervent desire to embrace death in this undertaking. Yet, as the imperial scion, he could not assure the success of their plan. To seize food from the mouth of the emperor himself was an endeavor fraught with difficulty. Shi Tianming shifted his gaze to the elevated platform at the apex of the grand hall. Upon this platform rested 3 colossal stone thrones, crafted from the finest stardust sand, symbolizing status and nobility. Suddenly, a thunderous sound resonated from the horizon, and 3 streaks of light, akin to comets, descended upon the platform. As they made their entrance, an immense imperial aura swept through the surroundings like a vast ocean, silencing the cacophony in an instant. The master of the Tianxian sacred land, the Tianxian emperor, the voyager of the galaxy, the ancient emperor of the galaxy, the recent imperial prodigy, the Tianqing general. The mere presence of these 3 emperors dimmed the brilliance of the celestial bodies, draining them of color and vitality. Tianxian is invincible, Beidou is eternal, welcome our immortal Beidou. A voice rang out, igniting the fervor of the assembly. Tens of thousands of cultivators in the square erupted in unison, chanting that Beidou would never perish, and that Tianxian was immortal. Fresh from a resounding victory, their morale soared to unprecedented heights, unshakable. Suddenly, several profound whirlpools manifested above the ancient stars of Tianxian, emanating a terrifying aura. The ancient emperors of other sacred lands were also observing this divine summoning ceremony. Someone gasped in shock. Although those emperors were not physically present, they were closely monitoring the situation here. This was troublesome, Shi Tianming thought, realizing the other emperors were fixated on this event, making the execution of their plan even more formidable. The Tianxian emperor rose, gesturing with his hand, and 7 massive stars materialized, suspended in the heavens, symbols of Beidou. The Tianqing general brandished a silver spear, striding confidently onto the divine platform to stand beside Shi Tianyu. Clad in resplendent silver armor, he pointed the spear toward the heavens, his piercing gaze scanning the surroundings as if seeking to unearth something hidden. I, Beidou, am eternal. Who dares to approach? The thunderous proclamation of the Tianqing general left the cultivators below in bewilderment. What was transpiring? Soon, a few elders stepped forward to elucidate the matter. It turned out that the Tianqing general harbored a hidden grudge against a prodigy from the sacred land of reincarnation, seeking to expose and eliminate him here. Upon hearing this, the cultivators displayed expressions of disdain. Impossible. The Tianqing general has ascended to the rank of emperor. How could that individual still dare to show himself? They are worlds apart. Indeed, the distinction between a quasi-emperor and an emperor was but a single character, yet the chasm between them was immense. Furthermore, 3 emperors were present. Who would be audacious enough to attempt to seize someone in their midst? Perched above, the Tianxian emperor furrowed his brow upon witnessing the scene. Although the Tianqing general had attained imperial status, he lacked the gravitas of an emperor. Contemplating a reprimand, the Tianxian emperor deemed it inappropriate on such a momentous occasion. With this in mind, the Tianxian emperor rose and proclaimed, the divine summoning ceremony shall now commence. At his command, the fervent clamor of the assembly ceased abruptly, for the celestial beings were about to descend, and no one dared to show disrespect. Seated before the celestial expanse were countless cultivators, each a figure of renown, gazing longingly into the depths of the heavens, as if anticipating something profound. A deep, resonant horn sounded, its ancient timbre imbued with the essence of antiquity. Surrounding the plaza, numerous grand drums reverberated, their thunderous beats akin to the roar of celestial thunder. Suddenly, hundreds of beacons were ignited, billowing plumes of smoke ascending toward the sky. The divine summoning ritual commenced. A procession of priests, adorned in eclectic attire, ascended the divine platform, crowned with celestial diadems and bearing the sacred flame tower. Exuding an air of solemnity, they chanted enigmatic ancient incantations, intermittently kneeling in supplication, paying homage to the vast cosmos. Following their ritualistic gestures, an extraordinary phenomenon occurred above the head of the illustrious Shishianyu. The soul banner and imperial soldiers stirred, unleashing a shaft of obsidian light into the depths of the universe. Consequently, the entire realm quivered, a vast pressure of celestial might sweeping across the 8 desolations and 6 harmonies, gravitating towards the Emperor of Tianxian with a force comparable to the fall of countless meteors. The sheer power of the celestial pathway was indeed beyond the reach of mere mortals, as the ancient galactic monarch marveled in astonishment. Regarding the imminent arrival of the immortal spirit, he could not afford to show anything but reverence. Even as a supreme being, he was compelled to rise and welcome. The esteemed Emperor of Tianxian, Lord of the Sacred Domain, also stood, adopting a posture of respect. The being descending was none other than the venerable ancestor of the Northern Dipper, the Star Lord of the Big Dipper, who had presided over the heavens eons ago. In the distance, the stars trembled, their paths disrupted by an unseen force, colliding and triggering a cataclysmic explosion. Above, in the vast, profound firmament, a phantom of a great door subtly materialized. In an instant, the entire realm was stripped of color, plunging into an infinite expanse of black and white. The gathered crowd held their breath, their gazes fixed upon the portal, filled with awe, yearning, and trepidation. Legend spoke of the immortals who had perished between the 9 heavens and 10 earths, their residual souls adrift in the realms beyond. A place of eternal silence where even emperors could only taste bitterness. Upon the high platform, Shishianyu felt a piercing sensation akin to steel needles pricking his spirit. A formidable consciousness approached, seemingly intent on invading his very being, to obliterate him and seize control of his form. Now was the moment. Below, Shishimin suddenly rose, shattering the jade talisman in his grasp, transforming it into a bolt of cerulean lightning that surged toward the divine platform. In an instant, figures emerged from all directions, each wielding forbidden artifacts. Though limited in their usage, they could unleash the might of imperial weapons for a fleeting moment. Kill! A chorus of voices echoed, as the figures unleashed torrents of immeasurable light toward the divine platform. Their speed was so staggering that the passage of time itself seemed to slow, the world around them adopting an almost languid pace. The unexpected turn of events stunned all present. In their line of sight, streaks of lightning darted past, so swift they were nearly indistinguishable, targeting the divine platform directly. Someone sought to abduct the reincarnation's sacred body. Instantly, a wave of panic rippled through the gathered cultivators. In such a critical moment, should the reincarnation's sacred body encounter peril, the remnants of the Northern Dipper's soul could also be jeopardized. Only the 3 emperors upon the platform remained composed amidst the chaos. As he gazed upon the rapidly advancing throng of over a dozen men, the Heavenly Star General sneered coldly. Shishimin, you have finally arrived. In times past, I might have feared you to some extent, but now I have ascended to the throne of an emperor. You are but an ant beneath my heel. Allow me to first eradicate your remaining followers. Then I shall take great pleasure in torturing you. He gripped his spear tightly, the blue cloak billowing behind him, his silver armor gleaming resplendently. Channel the forbidden artifacts with all your might, and create an opportunity for His Excellency, the Emperor. An old farmer shouted to the others. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In an instant, more than a dozen forbidden artifacts were activated, the oppressive force of their might descending like a cataclysmic storm, heavy as 1 billion tons, causing several cultivators present to explode into a mist of blood. Observing the chaos, the Celestial Emperor waved his hand dismissively, erasing the overwhelming pressure to safeguard the guests below. Such grandeur must not be marred by outsiders' ridicule. What? The followers of Shishimin were taken aback. With the oppressive force dissipated, their momentum faltered, and the formidable imperial aura emanating from the Heavenly Star General rendered them immobile. A pitiful swarm of insects, perish. The Heavenly Star General scoffed, pointing a finger, causing several quasi-emperors beside Shishimin to explode into a mist of blood, their essences obliterated. Yet the remaining survivors exhibited no signs of panic. Instead, they resolutely sacrificed their lives and cultivation to channel the forbidden artifacts, paving the way for Shishimin. We are willing to die for the Reincarnation Sacred Hall. The quasi-emperors of the Reincarnation Sacred Hall proclaimed in unison, offering their lives to maximize the activation of the forbidden artifacts. A grain of rice dares to contest with the brilliance of the full moon. With a sweeping motion of his spear, the Heavenly Star General unleashed a power capable of sweeping the cosmos, obliterating all the forbidden artifacts in an instant, resulting in the fall of several quasi-emperors. The only one still struggling was Shishimin. No one can stop me, he declared, blood trickling from his lips, his body severely injured. With no hope against the Heavenly Star General, an emperor of unmatched strength. Yet, even in despair, he resolved to fight with every ounce of his being. For his own brother stood upon the platform. Insects. The Heavenly Star General revealed a mirror at his brow, its brilliance formidable, suddenly emitting a dazzling beam of light aimed at Shishimin. Bang! Even with the aid of true imperial weaponry, that strike obliterated Shishimin's form, sending his severed head soaring into the sky, shrouded in smoke and blood. Brother, Shi Xianyu screamed in anguished horror, witnessing the impending demise of his brother. His consciousness began to fade, the remnants of a celestial spirit about to descend into this realm. At that moment, he would cease to be himself. Ha! The Heavenly Star General laughed heartily, extending his spear to impale Shi Shiming's head. No matter how extraordinary your talents may be, in the end, I was the one to become an emperor first. Rest assured, I shall not allow you to die easily. I will savor your suffering. I will bring you to despair. As an emperor, he displayed not a hint of profound restraint. Overwhelmed by absolute power, he reveled in the satisfaction of conquering a former rival. Shi Shiming's consciousness blurred, the specter of death drawing near. He could not help but lament that the distinction between quasi-emperor and emperor was but a single character. Yet the chasm between them was immeasurable. One could only look up in reverence, while the other towered above in supreme authority. If I were to ascend the throne first, I might be able to salvage this dire situation. The ascension to the throne is akin to a celestial barrier, one that may confine a soul for eternity. An insurmountable obstacle that has thwarted many gifted cultivators. The celestial general has arrived. The spirit of the immortal is about to descend. The emperor of Tianxian could no longer bear to watch and spoke up, albeit cautiously, for he was reluctant to say too much in front of the gathered assembly. Very well. The celestial general leaped down, returning to the high platform, standing tall and resolute, brandishing a bloodied head with a radiant countenance. Rumbling thunder. The gates of the heavens were fully opened, revealing the ethereal visage of a dimly lit elder descending towards the divine altar. Chapter 292, Suppression of Tianxian, the Immortal Descends. The realm of Tianxian transformed into a monochromatic world, as if time itself had been frozen in an eternal moment. The gathered cultivators held their breath, staring in rapt amazement at the spectral figure of the elder descending from the heavens. The soul-summoning banner, an imperial artifact forged by the 7 great emperors of the Big Dipper, shimmered with ominous brilliance, fluttering in the wind and resonating with a haunting sound. This newly crafted artifact was specifically designed for the divine summoning ceremony. Above the altar, Shi Tianyu struggled violently, feeling his consciousness being erased. As a new soul energy sought to penetrate his being, the expressionless elder descended, devoid of emotion, allowing the soul-summoning banner to draw him towards Shi Tianyu. The Lord of the Big Dipper, having fought across this realm, left behind 7 sacred lands, and upon his demise, laid intricate plans for the benefit of his descendants. Now, in a bid to reclaim former glory and dominate the heavens, the 7 sacred lands chose to summon their ancestral spirit. A tremendous pressure descended, causing the emperors seated to feel a constriction in their hearts. They understood that this was the might of the immortal. Although the Lord of the Big Dipper had perished millions of years ago, his residual spirit still wielded such influence, a testament to his former grandeur. The cultivators below broke into a sweat, realizing that should the summoning succeed, the Big Dipper would undoubtedly rise to become the supreme ruler of the heavens and earth. Even the typically composed emperors scrutinized the proceedings, wary of any disturbances. It should be fine now, sighed the emperor of Tianxian, relieved. Believing that the fusion of the immortal soul with the reincarnated sacred body was on the verge of completion and that the summoning ceremony would conclude successfully. Suddenly, a thunderous roar akin to that of a true dragon reverberated from the distant starry expanse, surging toward them like a fierce gale. The vast space of millions of miles was obliterated in an instant, and the monochromatic world was riddled with countless cracks before shattering like crystal. Someone has ambushed us. Disturbing my altar. The guards sprang into action, rushing forth from the platform, their gazes fixed on the unknown depths of space, bracing for confrontation. Crack! Before the echoes of the dragon's roar could dissipate, a violent explosion resounded once more. A black gold spear tore through the void, annihilating the starry realm, emanating an unparalleled celestial might that sent shivers through the souls of all present. It seemed to have traversed from the other side of life, surging forward with unbridled ferocity. A harbinger of death. In the cosmos, a figure wielding a spear materialized out of thin air, bearing the overwhelming might of a dragon as he charged into Tianxian. The dead should appear as the dead. Ji Xian, with his raven hair billowing wildly and his brow furrowed in defiance, cast a piercing gaze at the immortal's spectral form and, without hesitation, swept his spear towards it. The remnant soul of the immortal, while undeniably powerful, is still merely a fragment of its former self, lacking any semblance of suspense. With a sweeping motion of the dragon spear, the old man's ethereal form was instantaneously dispersed. The Black Dragon Spear, an extraordinary celestial artifact, possesses the might to obliterate myriad vast worlds with a single strike. Though Ji Xian had yet to attain immortality, he nonetheless demonstrated the terrifying prowess of the weapon. The sudden upheaval took everyone by surprise. The descent of an immortal, the spear's overwhelming force, and the appearance of a mysterious figure all transpired within the blink of an eye, leaving even the emperor on stage momentarily dazed. Seeking death, are we? Tian Xingjiang roared, the first to rise from his seat. He tossed aside Shi Tianming's severed head and ascended with his spear in hand. Having just become an emperor and entered the realm of enlightenment, He was brimming with ambition and in dire need of solidifying his cultivation to establish his own invincible path. Now, with someone disrupting the divine summoning ceremony, he felt compelled to act decisively and assertively. Who dares to intrude? Get back! Ji Xian barked, raising the black dragon spear in his right hand while thrusting his left forward. A golden palm print, akin to a mountain overshadowing the heavens, surged forth. The magnificent, towering golden mountain, imbued with unparalleled divine might, sought to suppress Tianqing Jiang. The ascending Tianqing Jiang, before he could even draw his spear, found himself immobilized by this overwhelming force, unable to move. How is this possible? He thought, his heart racing. As an emperor, he never expected anything could restrain him. In the next moment, the golden mountain collided with him, propelling him thousands of miles away, piercing through over a dozen imperial stars of Tianqian, ultimately embedding itself in the cliffs of the Tianqian rear, unyielding and immovable. The expressions of all the cultivators present shifted dramatically. A mysterious figure had emerged, annihilating the immortal soul and repelling the emperor of Tianqian with a single blow. Something monumental was about to unfold. The audience below began to contemplate retreat, sensing the impending eruption of a staggering imperial battle, potentially drawing the attention of unparalleled powerhouses from across the northern Dipper heavens. In their presence, they would scarcely be considered cannon fodder. Ji Xian descended upon the divine platform, brandishing the black gold spear, his white garments billowing as he sheltered Shi Tianyu behind him. Quickly retreat, an elderly clan elder commanded, urging the cultivators to withdraw. However, after considerable effort, they discovered that the entirety of Tianqian was enveloped by the great celestial array, rendering all exits sealed. This emperor intends to suppress us all single-handedly, the elder gasped in astonishment, initially believing the intruder had come solely to seize the holy body. He was now confronted with the grim reality of being trapped within. The emperor of Tianqian, witnessing this scene, wore a grim expression and addressed Ji Xian, "Friend, your actions seem excessively extreme. My sect is in the midst of a crucial ceremony, and your violent entrance threatens to ignite conflict with us. We, the 7 sacred grounds of the Northern Dipper, have just eradicated the formidable reincarnation Holy Temple of Yuanming. You must consider your actions carefully. Furthermore, my sect's invitation to the immortal serves to benefit the realms of heaven and earth. You stand in opposition to the will of the cosmos." In response, Ji Xian scoffed. "What a grandiloquent facade. At your age, have you truly lost all sense of reality? The immortal realm has already succumbed to darkness, a fact well known throughout the land. And the records of the celestial beings attest to this. Your actions, are they an invitation to the celestial beings or a summons to darkness? Moreover, the sacred body of reincarnation belongs to my disciple, and today I must take him away. Any who stand in my way shall face death, without mercy." With that declaration, Ji Xian brandished his black dragon overlord spear, its sharpness evident, standing proud like a divine general in white, confronting the Emperor Tianqian. A battle was inevitable, and the Emperor's countenance darkened. "Allow me to vanquish him." From behind, the celestial general prepared to strike, employing secret techniques to heal his recent wounds. Ji Xian chuckled. A fledgling who has just ascended to the throne dares to act recklessly. Have you ever beheld the true form of a colossal dragon? The celestial general retorted. As fellow emperors, what difference is there in status? That previous strike was merely a sneak attack. If you can defeat me in one blow, then we may speak. Despite being an emperor for less than a year, he was filled with hubris. In his eyes, the current era demanded an indomitable spirit capable of slaying myriad foes. Only thus could the foundation of the bright path be forged, defying the heavens. Alas, he had chosen the wrong adversary. Unaware of the vastness of the heavens and the earth, very well, today I shall indulge you. Ji Xian sheathed his black dragon overlord spear, waved his sleeve, and stepped forward. The celestial general, displeased, exclaimed, "What do you mean? You will not use your weapon against me? Do you look down upon me?" Ji Xian wasted no more words, swinging his golden fist forward. Dozens of energy rings converged upon his right arm, and at the moment the golden Taiji circle emerged. It shattered explosively. Then, like a river breaking its dam, the heavens erupted, and the overwhelming intent of his punch surged forth. "Celestial General, evade." The ancient emperor of the galaxy, witnessing this, changed countenance. He sensed a power that transcended the supreme. Yet it was too late. By the time the celestial general perceived the imminent danger, the fist had already arrived. It was akin to a roaring golden lion, its mane crackling with lightning, ferociously engulfing the celestial general whole. What is this? In an instant, the celestial general felt himself plunged into eternal darkness, lost and directionless. Gasp! Suddenly, he coughed up a mouthful of black blood, and upon looking down, he discovered that his chest had been pierced through. Ayu! Bang! Before he could finish his words, his head exploded like a crushed watermelon, blood splattering, brain matter flowing, and he fell lifelessly to the ground. Chapter 293. Untitled in the skies, blood rain fell in torrents, staining the sacred land of Tianqian crimson. The celestial general had perished. The onlooking cultivators were drenched in cold sweat upon witnessing this scene. The celestial general had barely been an emperor for a year, at the height of his power, and yet he was slain so effortlessly? With just a single punch. To vanquish an emperor with a mere fist, what then of us lesser cultivators? Instantly, countless gazes converged upon the figure in white amidst the arena, eager to discern the identity of this formidable being. Yet, a faint ethereal aura emanated, obscuring their vision. The headless corpse of the celestial general plummeted to the ground, smashing into the plaza and creating a deep crater, a tragic sight indeed. Upon the platform, the Emperor Tianquan's expression turned ashen. He abruptly rose to his feet, bellowing, "You seek your own demise. Reveal your lineage, and the Northern Dipper Celestial General shall pursue you relentlessly." Ji Xian, shedding the celestial aura that enveloped him, revealed his true form. He chuckled. In the 3,000 states, the North Dipper Heaven has had only minor skirmishes with the Dao sect, gaining not a shred of advantage. What gives you the audacity to believe you can obliterate my Dao lineage? Upon beholding Ji Xian's visage, the Heavenly Tuan Emperor felt a sudden jolt in his heart. The Xianzhou, the Xuandi, a rising star from 2 millennia ago, established a formidable eternal Dao lineage in a remarkably short span, rivaling the great ancient powers. Some claim he does not belong to this era and has secretly amassed numerous strategies over 1,000,000 years, only to unleash them in this lifetime. Others assert that this emperor indeed emerged in this age, achieving enlightenment when the Grand Era commenced, thus rapidly ascending. Regardless of which narrative one subscribes to, they cannot encapsulate Ji Xian. He is his own being, forging his path without seeking validation from others. Countless discussions have arisen. Yet it is indisputable that his Dao sect is terrifyingly formidable, simultaneously declaring war on over a dozen major forces and driving them back in disgrace on the battlefield. Even the North Dipper Heavenly Alliance suffered significant losses in the 3,000 states, having been stripped of all its strongholds. Now, that unparalleled figure stands before them, effortlessly slaying an emperor with a single punch. No one dares to speculate just how fearsome he truly is. After a lengthy pause, the Heavenly Tuan Emperor spoke. "Words are futile. Today, if you slay me, the Heavenly Tuan Emperor, you shall pay with blood. In my North Dipper Heaven, I shall not allow you to seize our majesty." He turned to the ancient Emperor of the galaxy and said, "Friend, please lend me your strength to jointly subdue this individual. In due time, with other secret methods, we can resurrect the immortal, and I shall ensure you receive your share." Only then did Ji Xian shift his gaze towards the ancient Emperor of the galaxy. Upon meeting Ji Xian's eyes, the ancient emperor felt a shiver run down his spine, and secretly withdrew the teleportation array he had intended for escape into his sleeve. Coughing lightly, he inwardly grumbled, "What a ridiculous jest. I am a genuine supreme being, and that power I just sensed would have left me severely injured even if I had confronted it. This human, while inscrutable in his aura, undeniably possesses strength exceeding that of a supreme being. I refuse to engage. Let someone else face him. I shan't partake in a death wish." Furthermore, he had merely come here as a guest, with no desire to offend a formidable adversary. His longevity as the ancient emperor of the galaxy was predicated on being cautious and shrewd. Yet, before so many junior cultivators, he could not afford to lose face. So he begrudgingly feigned agreement with the Heavenly Tuan Emperor. Once he could restrain that human, he would activate the formation and make his escape. "Fear not, my friend. Take action without hesitation. Today, with our combined might, he shall find no avenue of escape," the ancient emperor of the galaxy declared with a grin. Upon hearing this, the Heavenly Tuan Emperor exhaled a sigh of relief. To be honest, the external world had exaggerated Ji Xian to an almost mythical extent, leaving him lacking in confidence regarding subduing him. However, with this seasoned supreme backing him, he felt emboldened. When he had slain the Reincarnation Emperor, the North Dipper Emperors had paid a hefty price, and now they were all in seclusion nursing their wounds. There were hardly any active participants left. Presently, only he remained to oversee matters, and he could only rely on the strength of the ancient emperor. "Then I shall take the lead." The great emperor of Tianxian straightened his back and stepped forward, sweeping his hand to grasp the ethereal imperial soul banner floating in the sky. This banner was forged through the collective efforts of the masters from the 7 sacred lands, capable of harnessing the immense forces of this realm to a certain degree. Meanwhile, Ji Xian remained engrossed in examining the information regarding Shi Tianyu. Name, Shi Tianyu. Gender, male. Talent, SSS. Race, human, descendant of celestial lineage. Age, 8,644. Physique, reincarnation sacred body. Note, when the physique reaches full maturity, lifespan becomes infinite, transcending reincarnation and allowing the manipulation of the powers of time. Reincarnation tribulation setting, current physique at minor completion stage. After enduring the 9 reincarnation tribulations, it can reach full maturity, achieving immortality. The reincarnation tribulation follows no set pattern, relying solely on the practitioner's accumulation. Current conditions for tribulation are satisfied. No wonder the Reincarnation Emperor left behind that golden token. It was to assist his son in advancing, indicating that he believed in my ability to save him. Ji Xian smiled. Beside him, Shi Tianyu had already succumbed to unconsciousness. Although he had shattered the remnants of the celestial spirit, the damage inflicted was still considerable. Ji Xian wrapped him within his sleeve, prepared to resolve this matter. In the distance, the great emperor of Tianxian approached with a menacing aura. Behind him stood not only a supreme being, but also other ancient figures from the Beidou sacred lands, all casting their gazes towards this scene. This was his home turf, and he could not afford to lose face. With a flick of his hand, a string of prayer beads soared forth, merging with the soul banner and hovering before the great emperor. These beads, crafted from 7 celestial stars, represented the 7 stars of Beidou and constituted an imperial artifact. Observing the advancing great emperor of Tianxian, Ji Xian shook his head and remarked, "Merely a half-step supreme. You are inadequate. Let that little serpent behind you contend with me." The ancient emperor of the galaxy, who had been preparing to retreat, nearly lost his composure upon hearing this, having already taken a backseat for cover. How could Ji Xian specifically call him out? He feigned bravado and replied, "Oh, little serpent, you truly dare to boast. Do you believe yourself to be the exalted heavenly emperor? When I strike, blood will surely flow. The great Tianxian is formidable, and you may not be his match." Upon hearing this, the great emperor of Tianxian felt reassured. Uncertain of Ji Xian's true strength, he now had some inkling that Ji Xian might not surpass him. Ji Xian, perceiving the ancient emperor of the galaxy's desire to flee, chose not to expose him. With the creation heaven array he had set up, even a supreme being would find it challenging to break through. Soon, he would peel the skin off the ancient emperor of the galaxy and brew a nourishing serpent soup for Shi Tianyu. "Do not be distracted. Let us settle this once and for all. The Beidou cannot be dishonored," declared the great emperor of Tianxian as he began to move, activating the 7 prayer beads. Instantly, 7 colossal stars swirled around him, radiating dazzling starlight and charging toward Ji Xian. The 7 stars, transformed from the prayer beads, shone brilliantly, emanating a kaleidoscope of divine light. Upon the great emperor of Tianxuan's command, they unleashed the unparalleled majesty of an emperor. In the hands of the great emperor Tianxian, the soul banner, a weapon of unparalleled might, was forged by the collaboration of 7 great emperors. This extraordinary artifact could, to a certain extent, summon the tremendous forces of the Northern Dipper. With both hands gripping the staff, the great emperor Tianxian swung the grand flag. The sound of wind tearing through the air resonating as the banner blotted out the sky and rolled back the heavens. Suddenly, the vast expanse of the starry sky was filled with the gentle sound of flowing water, and as time progressed, the invisible roar of tumultuous waves surged forth, crashing against the deep void like the resounding beat of a great drum. Holding the formidable power of the Northern Dipper, a single individual could harness its entire might. What could you possibly use to contend with me? The great emperor Tianxian took a heavy step forward. Each movement caused the very fabric of this realm to tremble. Behold the sea of stars. Upon his utterance, indeed, waves emerged within the starry void. A kaleidoscope of vibrant waters mingled with dazzling starlight, cascading from the heavens, ready to impose their weight downwards. Crack, crack. The structures of the holy land of Tianxian began to fracture, countless towers crumbling into ruin. The great emperor initiated his lethal technique without hesitation. The enigmatic presence of Ji Xian urged him to a swift resolution, lest delays bring unforeseen changes. Heavens! Was the great emperor Tianxian intending to suppress us all? Such terrifying power. I sensed that even if the Xian emperor remained passive, we would not escape this impending onslaught. A wave of trepidation washed over the cultivators present. The ocean surged from the depths of the cosmos, great waves cascading down from the heavens, enveloping the entire world, a truly apocalyptic sight. Simultaneously, all for the emperor's might permeated the air. Without attaining imperial status, one is merely an ant, devoid of the chance or desire to resist. Faced with the descending sea of stars, Ji Xian remained composed. He gently raised his hand, fingers interlocked, and with a flick, a golden droplet shot forth, shimmering with brilliance. The droplet trailed a luminous tail spanning several dozen miles, akin to a golden comet defying the heavens, boldly confronting the boundless sea of stars. The droplet, seemingly insignificant in comparison to the vast ocean, appeared almost negligible. Oof, how arrogant. Witnessing this, the great emperor Tianxian snorted disdainfully. How could a mere drop of water be compared to an endless sea of stars? It was as inconsequential as a grain of sand in a desert, a leaf in a forest, or a solitary star in the universe. The cultivators below held their breath. Did this droplet dare to challenge the vast ocean, or was it mere hubris masquerading as confidence? Rumbling. Before the two entities could collide, a faint explosion resonated throughout the cosmos, a chasm stretching across the heavens, parallel to the ground. This chasm was an energy barrier. And even with tens of thousands of miles separating the droplet from the sea of stars, the clash had already commenced. Crack. Under the pressure of the starry ocean, the entire architectural complex of the holy site erupted. In the distance, towering mountains were crushed under the emperor's might, vanishing from the surface, plateaus and peaks transformed into plains. The great emperor Tianxian was all in, unleashing his utmost power with no regard for the destruction of Tianxian itself, determined to instantaneously subdue Ji Xian. The Holy Land could be rebuilt. However, should Ji Xian penetrate deep into the Northern Dipper, the ensuing devastation would be far greater. Bang, boom, rumble. In the distant sky, the droplet collided with the sea of stars, resulting in a cataclysmic explosion. The imagined scene of the great Emperor Tianxian devouring droplets of water did not unfold. Instead, his starry sea was suppressed by Ji Xian, the descent gradually slowing until it came to a halt. How could this be? I have summoned the grand forces of the Northern Dipper. Did not the ancient emperor of the galaxy assert that this Ji Xian is my equal? Was he deceiving me? He involuntarily glanced back at the ancient emperor of the galaxy, his expression one of confusion. Upon sensing the gaze of the great Emperor Tianxian, the ancient emperor discreetly tucked away the escape array plate into his sleeve and stood there, whistling nonchalantly, exuding an air of tranquility. If my esteemed friend from the galaxy is so composed, then matters may be more manageable. The great Emperor Tianxuan's heart, which had been in turmoil, settled as he intensified the output of his sacred power, channeling it into the 7 ancient stars suspended around him. Suppress it for me, he commanded. And an unceasing flow of sacred energy surged into the starry sea, causing the entire realm to boil with intensity. Yet, despite the torrential downpour and the tumultuous waves, that single golden droplet continued its ascent. With a crack, the energy barrier that had been at a standoff finally fractured, allowing the golden droplet to transform into a streak of light, penetrating through and launching an assault into the starry sea. A more terrifying wave of energy erupted. With a thunderous roar, the boundless starry sea shattered in an instant, splintering like an ancient continent struck by divine lightning, fissures spreading throughout, leading to its utter collapse. This was a scene that left all witnesses aghast. The vast ocean seemed to implode, breaking apart into hundreds of fragments that accelerated downward. A calamity. All cultivators panicked, for a single droplet of water had indeed overwhelmed an entire ocean and caused the collapse of a section of the starry sky. Though they had witnessed an extraordinarily rare spectacle today, escape from death was beyond their reach. A droplet from the starry sea could pierce through them, let alone an entire ocean descending upon them. A great sage was pierced through the chest by a falling splash of water, struggling briefly before collapsing into a pool of blood. Boom. The crashing waves surged forth, descending upon the ground below, instantly drowning tens of thousands, leading to their swift demise. The ancient emperor of the galaxy, who had been preparing to flee, erupted in curses, hastily channeling his energy to defend himself. Even he dared not confront the force of this strike, which drew upon the collective might of the Northern Dipper. Ji Xian raised a barrier of light, allowing the waves to crash against him, as debris flew around without a moment's hesitation. The great Emperor Tianxian, witnessing this, sought to invoke his lethal move once more. You have no chance left, Ji Xian barked, revealing a small red seal in his hand and snapping his fingers, instantly shattering the 2 imperial weapons held by the great Emperor Tianxian. Then, in a swift motion, he appeared before the great Emperor Tianxian and seized his neck with one hand. The great emperor struggled violently, but it was all in vain. He finally comprehended the disparity between himself and Ji Xian. Galactic friend, save me, he bellowed, gazing skyward in desperation. Ji Xian then turned his attention to the ancient emperor of the galaxy. The ancient emperor jolted, nearly frightened out of his wits. How could the great Emperor Tianxian be so inept? His array had yet to be fully drawn, and yet he had already met defeat. He cursed vehemently. Who the hell would save you? I'm merely passing by. I am from the galaxy, and I have met fellow Taoist Ji Xian. You. The eyes of the great Emperor Tianxian widened in disbelief, bloodshot and filled with fury, realizing he had been betrayed. Ji Xian narrowed his eyes, casting a gaze filled with profound meaning upon the ancient emperor of the galaxy, as if he had discerned something significant. He then swiftly thrust 2 fingers directly into the forehead of the heavenly emperor. You shall not extract anything from this emperor. The heavenly emperor struggled violently. His vitality was remarkably robust, and despite the excruciating pain, his consciousness remained lucid. Suddenly, several swirling vortices suspended in the air emitted beams of light, charging towards Ji Xian. If you are not present, do not commit atrocities. Ji Xian wielded the black dragon spear, negating all of the incoming assaults. Meanwhile, several other emperors from the sacred lands sought to intervene, aiming to thwart Ji Xian's actions. With a thunderous explosion, the head of the heavenly emperor burst apart. He had self-destructed. Simultaneously, the figure of Shi Tianyu within Ji Xian's sleeve radiated with crackling lightning, drawing forth a tempestuous cloud of tribulation. The sacred body reincarnation tribulation was imminent. Chapter 295, Child of the Galaxy, I greet you, my adoptive father. In the depths of the starry sky, ominous thunderclouds gathered, the ocean of clouds bubbling and brewing with formidable tribulation. However, Ji Xian discerned that this thunder tribulation was unlike any he had encountered before. Above, powerful temporal laws rippled, and countless ethereal clocks manifested in the firmament. The sounds of myriad gears turning and hands sweeping echoed throughout the cosmos, as if seeking to rewrite the very rules of time itself. In a moment of daze, Ji Xian beheld a colossal rift split open in the heavens, from which the sound of rushing waters emanated. Through this immense fissure, he glimpsed a vast river of time, where heroes from antiquity to the present surged forth, striving to ascend the celestial path. The river of time, Ji Xian, usually as steady as a rock, was momentarily taken aback by the sight. He gazed incredulously at Shi Tianyu below, his eyes brimming with admiration and even a hint of excitement. By the heavens, this young man, merely at the Saint King realm, has managed to summon the River of Time. Truly a remarkable find. It is worth noting that the River of Time is one of the most enigmatic pathways throughout history, unbound by any realm, flowing from the ancient past into the present and racing towards the future. Time intertwines all, the birth, development, and demise of the universe, and all existence transpire within its ceaseless passage, and no one can escape its dominion. Even emperors who have long since attained enlightenment dare not claim mastery over time. Yet this lad, Shi Tianyu, has drawn forth the River of Time. This is the essence of the reincarnation sacred body, Ji Xian mused, reflecting on his initial intuition regarding Shi Tianyu in the city of Azure Light. Their subsequent encounters seemed either serendipitous or destined by fate itself. Nevertheless, there were matters to attend to, and he needed to momentarily suppress this tribulation. With this in mind, Ji Xian summoned the Chaos Bell, launching it skyward to exert unparalleled divine might over the River of Time. As an extraordinary celestial artifact, it could withstand even the celestial tribulations, rendering this reincarnation calamity trivial by comparison. At long last, the intricate designs were completed. In a corner, the ancient emperor of the galaxy gazed upon the fully realized formation with elation. Now he could make his escape. Who could possibly hinder him? My friend, may our paths cross again, he called out politely to Ji Xian, before tearing through the void and stepping into it. At long last, he had freed himself from that scoundrel, nearly petrified by fear. Ji Xian gazed at the retreating figure, a subtle arc gracing his lips. Within the void tunnel, the ancient emperor of the galaxy exhaled a sigh of relief. Finally, he was gone. For reasons unknown, he had always felt an overwhelming sense of suppression emanating from Ji Xian. This pressure stemmed not only from sheer power, but also from a racial lineage. What perplexed him the most was that he had long abandoned the path of transformation into a dragon, opting instead for the evolution towards innate beings. This was a transcendent path, and over countless millennia, fewer than 100 innate beings had emerged across the realms, most of whom had perished in their pursuit of enlightenment. The path of innate beings, once fully realized, could lead directly to immortality. Yet now, with the depletion of celestial rules, no one dared to tread this path any longer. In simple terms, it had become a dead end. In the present age, apart from himself, no one was willing to cultivate the way of innate beings. Ji Xian, clearly a human with parents and nurtured in the mortal realm, how could he evoke such a sense of suppression? Could he possibly be an innate Holy Spirit? This notion flared briefly in the ancient emperor's mind, only to be dismissed. Innate Holy Spirits were born from the primal essence, the embryonic form of the universe prior to its creation. Just a whiff of their chaotic energy could collapse the entire cosmos. If he truly were such a being, how could he remain within the realms? Never mind, it was best not to dwell on it. He had escaped, and could now hibernate for another million years. What grand conflicts, what slaughter, what impending darkness. He preferred to simply dig a hole and wait for winter. The ancient emperor hummed a cheerful tune, striding victoriously through the void tunnel towards his abode. He resolved to refrain from breaking through until he had surpassed 100 shackles. The encounter with Ji Xian had been too overwhelming. Ah, have I arrived? A familiar aura wafted from a corner of the tunnel, bringing him a sense of reassurance. Homeward bound, he shut his eyes tightly, opened his arms wide, and tore through the void, preparing to return to his cozy nest. However, the next moment, a chilling wind brushed against his face, and the air was thick with the scent of blood and brain matter. What is this situation? A foreboding sensation took root in the ancient emperor's heart as he opened his eyes, only to discover he was but a step away from Ji Xian. How in the world did I teleport right in front of him? His body bristled with fear, and he instinctively leaped back to create distance. Ji Xian chuckled, futile. The area has long been sealed by my grand formation. Come closer, let us converse. The ancient emperor bellowed. I have never been your enemy. We should have no significant entanglement. Please, do not approach. I am capable of retaliating. His mouth gaped wide, and his trembling hands clutched the formation plate. Ji Xian couldn't help but feel exasperated. How had this fellow attained supremacy? Was it merely through cowardice? That seemed implausible, in a world of grand strife. Who could truly hide? Come here when I ask you to. Ji Xian extended his golden hand, a magnificent golden taiji diagram weaving above, enveloping the entire celestial expanse. Do not approach. I am a serpent, a cold-blooded creature, bloodthirsty and lethal, and I shall even bite a dog if I encounter one. The ancient emperor of the galaxy struggled violently. Achoo! Simultaneously, atop a small hill in the 3000 states, a little black dog sneezed, grumbled for a while, and then returned to slumber. Back to this side, Ji Xian had already summoned the ancient emperor of the galaxy to his side. He gazed at the trembling white-haired man before him and frowned. Is it true that you do not even attempt to resist? The ancient emperor of the galaxy wore a perplexed expression, as if to say, I wish I could. Ji Xian activated his divine sight, sweeping over the ancient emperor, instantly comprehending the true nature of this great serpent. It turned out that he had cultivated the innate Tao, the emperor understood. As an innate Holy Spirit, he possessed absolute dominance over innate beings, let alone this insignificant creature before him. Innate beings are those that are closely aligned with the innate Tao. Sun Huang's physique is that of the innate Tao body, belonging to the same category. Those endowed with such a physique are nurtured by heaven and earth, advancing rapidly merely through the absorption of the essence of nature. The ancient emperor of the galaxy, despite his foolishness, had managed to reach this level primarily due to his cultivation methods. Although he had yet to reach the category of innate beings, he was not far off. Tell me, do you wish to live? Ji Xian inquired. Yes. Almost instantaneously, the ancient emperor of the galaxy replied. Submit to me, protect my disciple, and I shall assist you in attaining enlightenment. This was an idea Ji Xian had long harbored. Now that he had emerged in the Northern Dipper, unfamiliar with everything, he found himself in need of a subordinate for guidance. Moreover, the physique of Shi Tianyu was exceedingly precious, capable of inciting fierce competition among various forces. In the trials to come, it was essential to covertly dispatch an imperial-level cultivator to safeguard him. I agree. The ancient emperor of the galaxy did not stipulate any conditions, responding immediately. In his view, survival outweighed all else. As long as he could persist, what was there to fear? Ji Xian nodded, his palm vibrating as a chaotic-hued seal emerged. This is the manifestation of the principles within me. By accepting it, you will be marked as my servant. But you shall also gain insights into the innate Tao. Refusal will result in your immediate demise. I do not entertain alternatives. Without hesitation, the ancient emperor of the galaxy pressed the seal into his forehead. From that moment forth, he had to fully submit to Ji Xian. To him, as long as he was not killed, he was willing to endure anything. Survival was paramount. Suddenly, he froze. What the hell? How could this be possible? Through that seal, he glimpsed a vague primordial embryo. Ji Xian was truly an innate Holy Spirit. From this day forth, Ji Xian, you shall be my esteemed grandfather. The ancient emperor of the galaxy bellowed, his heart brimming with excitement. His predictions vindicated. An innate Holy Spirit, the ultimate destination of all evolution. Ji Xian gave him a dismissive snort. Begone, I have no grandchildren of your age. The ancient emperor of the galaxy chuckled awkwardly, realizing that indeed, Ji Xian appeared youthful, and it was inappropriate to address him as grandfather. He adjusted his mindset, mentally cycling through countless titles. Finally settling on an answer, he shouted, Child of the Galaxy. I pay my respects to my adoptive father. Chapter 296, Taking Disciples. Who the hell are you calling my adoptive father? Ji Xian kicked the ancient emperor of the galaxy away. Internally, he scoffed. This wretched creature is truly insufferable. The ancient emperor of the galaxy was sent flying, crashing into several ancient palaces before finally coming to a halt. He rose with a sheepish grin, his silver hair in disarray and his face grimy. A supreme being reduced to such dishevelment. Yet, he felt no shame, having latched onto the leg of a congenital Holy Spirit, securing his future for life. Ji Xian retrieved the chaotic bell sealed in the heavens, releasing Shi Tianyu from his sleeve, cradling him in his palm. He pointed to a head among the ruins, transmitting a message to the distant ancient emperor of the galaxy. Stay put and preserve this young man's head. Do not allow any vitality to escape. And refrain from calling me your adoptive father. The ancient emperor of the galaxy greeted him with a smile, rising to clasp his hands. Yes, adoptive father, no problem. Ji Xian rolled his eyes and soared into the depths of the starry sky with Shi Tianyu. The river of time manifested through a dimensional rift, revealing itself across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The saint body of reincarnation specializes in the path of time, and its reincarnation tribulation must be traversed within the river of time, a perilous endeavor indeed. However, with each successful passage of the reincarnation tribulation, one's strength undergoes a profound transformation, incomparable to mere ascension in realm. Before long, Ji Xian found himself directly beneath the clouds, where black thunderclouds loomed like continuous mountain ranges above, occasionally echoing with the roars of thunder dragons. Blue lightning struck down, capable of shattering stars and extinguishing the Tao with just a mere breath. Through the clouds, a glimpse of the river of time revealed itself, where tumultuous waves intertwined with the gentle murmurs of streams, creating a breathtaking world. With the chaotic bell protecting him, Ji Xian cradled Shi Tianyu and stepped into the thunderclouds. Boom. The moment he entered the river, a cacophony of temporal laws erupted. They seemed decidedly unwelcoming to Ji Xian, the intruder. The time laws coalesced into a colossal wave, surging towards Ji Xian. For others, this would be a dire predicament. After all, no one has ever withstood the erosion of time, and even emperors meet their demise one day. However, Ji Xian merely patted the chaotic bell atop his head, sending forth a deep bell wave that toppled the massive wave, obliterating it into eternity. He then removed the protective formation surrounding Shi Tianyu, exposing him to the river of time. Immediately, the river of time surged, strange temporal symbols flying from all directions, coalescing into divine chains of order that twisted like dancing silver serpents, striking towards Shi Tianyu. Bang! With a resounding crash, Shi Tianyu was sent hurtling backward, his body a mangled mess. Had Ji Xian not intervened, he would have plunged into the river, lost to unknown realms of time and space. How painful! Shi Tianyu awakened, writhing in his stiffened body. Once he regained some awareness, he realized he was still alive. Where am I? He surveyed his surroundings, feeling an utter lack of familiarity. Suddenly, he caught sight of Ji Xian in the distance. Senior, Shi Tianyu exclaimed, his heart racing with excitement. How could the Xian Emperor be here? He channeled the holy power within him and rushed towards Ji Xian's direction. With a crack, another order divine chain hurtled towards him, violently striking his shoulder and reducing one of his arms to mere ash, exposing the stark bones beneath as blood gushed forth.